I'm a bit early. You guys want to try a social experiment? Thank you, you too. I'm a bit early. I was here. I sometimes get early, I sometimes get late, I guess. I try to be on time, but, you know, we do our best. You guys want to try the social experiment?
Why
Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Yeah.
What are your guys' names?
Panos.
Palos, nice to meet you. I'm Chip.
Orestes.
Ores, nice to meet you. Where are you guys from?
Greece.
Greece. Okay. So I'll ask you this. Should the powerful have the right to oppress the powerless?
No.
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 What if they benefit from it?
Who benefits?
The powerful.
I mean, of course, they benefit from it, but
Obviously they benefit from it, but no.
It should be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Should we judge them based on strength or intelligence? Whether to oppress them or not? The powerless?
I mean, we should not oppress them. So it's
Yeah, we shouldn't
not
oppress
even
them
a
in any
question
case. So
about what.
we can't.
Regardless of their level of intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Should we discriminate based on skin color or characteristics coming from DNA?
No, that has nothing to do with it. No.
No. Okay. And well, here's a difficult one, and I think you're gonna change your mind. You're gonna say it's okay to oppress, huh? Should we be oppressing animals?
No.
Should we oppress animals?
No.
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 No. So there's no circumstances where oppression of animals could be justified.
No.
The circumstances that can be justified.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Do you think that maybe for when we buy animal products, we are inherently supporting a system that oppresses animals?
When we buy animal products, though.
Yeah.
What animal
But,
products,
like,
though? Because if
is
it's
it
for
made
the
of, like,
health,
milk? Yeah.
for example, if it's for like I have a dog and it has a health issue, I need to give it its medicine.
So, okay, in the cases of need, let's say you can justify it, but in the absence of need, when you, I don't know, let's say you buy cheese, for example.
Yeah.
Does that justify the exploitation and slaughter that these animals go through?
It doesn't justify it. No.
No?
No.
So would you say, could you theoretically be against oppression, including oppression of animals, while simultaneously paying for oppression? So that you get certain products like cheese, like milk, like eggs, like meat?
If I understood the question correctly, I think the answer is yes right now.
Yes, right now?
I
How
think
does that work? If I say I'm against oppressing humans, but I oppress humans, am I against oppressing humans?
I lost you there, mate.
So, if you say that you're against oppressing animals, which
Yeah.
you said, right?
Yeah.
But then you pay for animals to be oppressed so that you get something that you don't actually need, you just something that you want.
Yeah.
Isn't there a contradiction there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So then, in order to resolve this contradiction, what would need to happen?
To resolve it.
To resolve it, educate from a young age.
Well, we can't turn back time, right? Can we?
yeah, no,
So
no,
what
no.
can we do
But I mean,
going
it's hard,
forward?
like, as human beings, like, they develop, like, we became hunters, we have, like, these teeth that we need to just eat the meat and stuff like that.
Well, we don't need to. Would you argue that it's okay and if we can thrive on plants and plant-based products?
Thrive?
But
Yeah.
I mean, we need
Nah.
also, like, other supplements, right? Some pills for extra proteins, some vitamins and stuff like that.
Which supplements are those?
I have no idea, but, like, I have some
Vitamins?
friends that... Yeah,
Vitamins?
yeah, probably.
Like vitamins?
Various vitamins,
Do we get, like, all the nutrition from the plants?
Yeah. I think the only vitamin we need to supplement is B12. But B12 is anyway normally comes from a bacteria on the ground. And because of our intense agriculture, we kind of fucked up the ground. So we no longer get that bacteria as prevalent as it used to be. So nowadays farmers, they actually give a B12 supplement to their animals. So when you're eating animal products and you're getting B12 from those products,
supplement.
you're just getting it from a second-hand supplement, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so knowing that animals are oppressed for you, doesn't that make you want to stop paying for it?
Difficult question.
It's a hard question, true. Like, I don't know, like, for me, like, I started from young age, like, not really start thinking about it, but, like, after watching, like, documentaries, stuff like that, you start like consider yourself, oh my god, maybe I'm just an animal, you know, just slaughter other animals just
We
to
are,
survive.
Yeah.
But like if you look at how the wildlife is, it's like other animals also like kill other animals. It's not like
But
all
they
the
don't do it
animals-
because they want to, right? A lot of the
Yeah,
times
it's
these
true.
animals do it because they need to survive.
Yeah, but
We're
also-
not in that situation, are we?
Yeah, so maybe the change, like the past, the human had to survive, so he hunted animals. So now,
In the past, sure, but like I mean, like going forward,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
like
exactly.
in today's society, we don't need to, right? We can't justify that. Oh well, we did it in the past. In the past, we also did slavery. We
Yeah.
also did women didn't have rights. We had all of these weird things happening in our past. That doesn't mean we should continue doing them just because they were at some
Yeah.
point in our past, right? Even if they contributed to our society in a way. I mean, it's pretty clear that slavery did contribute to our society,
Yeah.
right? There was free labor there, so it did
Oh, yeah.
contribute to our society. But that doesn't mean it was right or moral in any way to do so, right?
No.
So, and now we're at a place in our society where we don't need to consume animal products, where we have all the other options available, and these innocent animals are being exploited, slaughtered. They're going into slaughterhouses, and I personally think it's unfair because we can choose otherwise, right? They can't fight. They can't even run away from our choices. When we make a choice, their whole life is condensed to 10 minutes of
Yeah.
taste pleasure for us, and they lose their whole life for us.
You're right. You're right.
I mean,
I don't think I could change, but you're right. Obviously.
but can it change? Like, can like all the people change at once? Because it has to be at once, right? Like,
Why does it have to be at once?
I mean,
Do you think slavery was abolished at once?
No,
Do you think
slowly.
women got rights at once? All the social movements have to gather momentum. We have to have more people on the side of the social movement, right? So all of these, if you consider what we do to animals is wrong, then you can change. And maybe other people will follow, maybe not, but at least you are on the right side of history, right?
We have to cut it a bit short now. Okay.
So how many more animals should be exploited for you until you make a change?
that's a good question.
A couple good. Couple good. A couple for sure.
A couple. If you were in their shoes, would you accept that answer?
Eh? No, 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 no. I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
No. So
But I'm not. I'm not good. Perfect. I'm not good.
I'm not saying you're not good. It's just
No, no, no.
one of
I'm a
these
hypocrite.
actions-
I know I'm a
yeah,
hypocrite.
yeah.
No, no. I completely agree. I'm a hypocrite on this. But I don't think I could change right now.
First of all, never say never. Let me give you a card before you go. Do I give you one card or two cards?
Yeah, one would
One,
together.
one,
One? Okay. So I urge you to please watch just the minion or the most important speech you'll ever hear.
Okay.
You promise me you'll watch that?
Yep.
You have several resources to help you with everything
yeah.
that you need, but just watch these two, just to know what you're paying for, because I don't think there's anything wrong with getting informed, right?
Yep,
And
sure.
if at the end of the day you decide that you don't want to be part of it, you have
I mean, it's
several
your-
resources to help
Yeah.
you there, okay?
Okay.
For free and everything.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Have a good one. That's it. That was the first conversation, everybody. Hello and welcome to the stream. Thank you for being here. Awesome vegan people, awesome. And not vegan people, if you're not vegan, why wouldn't you be though? That would be weird. I feel awful when I see somebody cooking a steak. I get it, the desert guy. Hey, the vegan plant. Hey, Jonas, Jonathan, Martin, Kevin, Dandelion Gum. A lot of awesome people here in the stream, I see. Whew. We're gonna do our best today. Let's see if we get some nice conversations. Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? Sound is fine. Okay, great. You know, I've been watching this show recently. It's called Love on the Spectrum. There's a new season that just popped out, and you know, I was I was thinking, because there's this one guy in the third season now who's like autistic. You know, that's the whole point of this show. It's like autistic people trying to find love. And there's this one guy on the show that says, I mean, somewhere in the episode he looks at chicken, and the cameraman asks him, "Whoa, do you like chickens?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think they're awesome. I love birds. Look, they're cool that they walk on two legs." I never really realized, but chickens indeed do walk on two legs, and they're really cool animals. And then he asked them, "Well, can you love them and eat them too?" I think something along those lines. I don't know if you're asking exactly that question, but something along those lines. And he said yes. So, you know, I don't know, it got me thinking, and I've been asking also ChatGPT and having conversations with ChatGPT about it. I don't know, do you guys think it's more of intellectual thing or more of an emotional thing that people are lacking, that they can't really seem to grasp the vegan concept? What about getting the right nutrients? Where are you from, by the way? You don't seem to have a Dutch accent. No, I'm originally from Romania. I live here in the Netherlands. I'm theoretically a Dutch citizen. I don't really get to practice my Dutch too much, so, you know, my Dutch is not great. But yeah. What about getting the right nutrients? You can get the right nutrients from a plants and plant-based diet. You don't have to trust me on that. There's several nutritional and dietitian organizations around the world saying the same thing. Organizations that have absolutely no incentive to get you to go vegan or to get you to not be vegan. So, yeah. Hey, Draculum, nice to see you here. I have ChatGPT put a snarky and supportive lol. It's also very expressive. That's cool, Linda. Hey, Tevans. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So what do you guys think? Is it that we need more intellectual education or more emotional education? As in, are people lacking intellectual rigor, as in they're like maybe lacking some form of critical thinking skills? And if they would get critical thinking skills, they would have an easier time going vegan? Or do you think it's more of an emotional thing where people need to have some form of emotional maturity? I think vegans are generally more intelligent and more emotional, says Jake. Jake, I tend to agree partially with you. I've noticed definitely some form of emotional intelligence from vegans. But if I think about actual intelligence, I don't know. I've seen vegans who weren't very intelligent. I've seen vegans who were saying misinformation also. I don't think necessarily acknowledging or being able to empathize with what animals go through makes you intelligent. You guys want to try a social experiment? Yeah, Martin says more intelligence. You don't have to be smart to have some compassion, says Benji. Yeah, that's also true, you know. I guess it also really does matter on how people get there, right? Because you can get there in several ways. You can get there both both with, I don't know, cognitive help as well as with emotional help. I tend to believe that you do need at least some form of empathy capability, right? Because you need to be able to empathize with the situation that animals are put in so that you can at least acknowledge that it is awful and that you yourself would never want to be put in those shoes. But it's hard to say. I think it's a bit of both, says Dandelion Gum. Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that's why cubes are good, since the footage breaks down the initial barrier and people become more receptive to the message, says Jonas Jonathan. Yeah, Jonas Jonathan, that's an interesting thing, you know, but I noticed cubes do either two things. Either one, they shock the person, or and then, you know, the person can either become a little bit more open, or you guys want to try a social experiment? They can become a little bit more open, or they can become like the opposite way because they were shocked, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I'm split about cubes, you know? On one hand, I think they're important to have. I think it's important to show. I also think it's important to have some form of consent from people when watching this kind of stuff, because I personally cannot watch it, right? So, yeah. They might need time to process it for sure, yeah. Damn, it's pretty cold today. Next person isn't vegan, says okay, OG native. OG native. Yeah, sure. Well, let's hope they at least understand the argument, you know. That's all we can hope from people. A decent conversation where they understand it. Sometimes we want to hold them accountable. Sometimes we just want to have conversations with them. We'll try everything, you know. At the end of the day, we're here to speak up for animals, and we have no data saying which one is best. And in fact, I'd argue that we need all forms of activism, so all of them are valid. Mike had that video about tragic events leading to being vegan. Oh, I haven't watched that one. Interesting. Vegan Future is also going to be here, all the activists. And we're going to be having a lot of activists here soon. I mean, I'm not sure if they're coming here actually, because they're going there. Some in a different location. So I should say here or there, as if you guys can see where I'm pointing at. But yeah, they'll be around the area. And yeah, based on how many people we get, based on the results here, we might move next to them, because they're doing a dog meat tasting today. And that would be interesting also to see. I hear more Russian than Dutch. Why? I don't know. Maybe because I'm Romanian, and I guess it is a partially Slavic language. So therefore, you may hear a little bit of that accent coming through. That makes sense. You want to try a social experiment? Or did he mean the tourists? Yeah, there's some tourists here who are trying to take a photo of something, and they keep coming back and forth. They keep filming back and forth. You gotta respect that, right? Some people really want to take the best shot. Ben has been vegan for 14 years. Ben, damn, you're awesome, man. 14 years, Ben. Awesome. It's amazing. I've only been vegan for 3 years, to be honest. I wish I went for more. I regret not going vegan earlier. I think we all do, right? You're so inspiring, Chip. Thanks for your dedication towards animal liberation, says David. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. I'm learning to take compliments more and more. You want to try a social experiment? I hope they leave soon, these 3 tourists, because they're kind of blocking one of my signs. So it's a little bit difficult to get people. Oh, they are leaving. There you go. Nasif says, meat fuck vegans. Yeah, you should definitely fuck vegans, because vegans are sexy. So yeah, thank you for that. And as for, I don't know what meat, meat gives you proteins, say somebody. Yeah, there's several food items can give you proteins, and they don't have to be coming from exploited or slaughtered sentient beings. Somebody said free Palestine. Yeah, free Palestine, I agree. Go vegan, says Linda. Love it. And plants give you protein. Yeah, exactly. You live very close to here, somebody said. Nice. Well, come and talk to me if you live very close. Chip, your 3 years of veganism is compounded by all the activism you've done. Yeah, that's what I'm trying, huh? I'm trying to make up for everything that I've done. I'm just trying to be a better person. My name is Chip. Reference to My Name is Earl, if everybody has watched that show. McDonald's tastes good, says somebody. Well, they have a Mc plant now. I'm not sure where you're from, but there's a Mc plant in Europe at McDonald's, so you can have the same taste without any of the exploitation and slaughter. Ben in Nederlanden. Yeah, I am Dutch, but I do not speak Dutch. Especially not in this stream. Vegan McDonald's tastes good, exactly. Hey Tone, nice to see you here. You guys want to try a social experiment? Nobody wants to stop today, it's insane. Okay, we're gonna give it 5 minutes. If nobody stops in 5 minutes, we move. Can you guys hear the music, by the way? Lions also kill lion cubs, yeah. Oh, I see everybody in the stream is handling the arguments. Thank you for that. If you have questions for me, yes, I am vegan. Yes, I am a bodybuilder. Yes, I'm also a certified nutritionist. So, and yes, I also do some form of powerlifting. So yeah, if you have questions for me, please shoot them away. Being vegan is pretty easy, to be honest, especially here in the Netherlands and especially in Europe. You guys want to try a social experiment? Okay. Keep looking at the watch. The irony that you have such sharp canine is hilarious. I don't have sharp canines. What are you talking about? Nobody has sharp canines. Everybody has. You can't bite through raw meat with them. When you see an animal drowning in blood, you don't feel like, oh my god, I want to eat them. You just feel like, oh, you feel sorry for them. So I would say that the fact that we have canines means nothing. Also, given the fact that there's plenty of herbivorous animals who have canines, and they were done for self-defense. But even if canines were to bite through meat, why would that matter? It's not like if you have a body part made specifically for something, you need to use that body part only for that something, right? I think none of our hands are made to hold phones, yet we hold phones. None of our, I don't know, eyes are made to wear glasses, yet we wear glasses. I don't know. Our head isn't made to wear a cap, yet we wear a cap. You know, like it doesn't matter what your body part is made of. If morally you cannot justify doing something horrific with that body part, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? So you can't morally justify paying for animals to be exploited and slaughtered just because you think that your teeth were made to chew through flesh. Eat the flesh of, I don't know, plants, plant-based flesh, whatever. And you're still using your teeth. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I might move on the other side. You want to try a social experiment? Okay, I think we're gonna move. Okay, we're gonna move. I don't think there's a lot of people on this side, so there's a lot of people on this square. But I think there's more people on the other side. Let's try there. And if not, we move again. That's what we do. We keep moving. We move where the people tell us to be. Bear with me, everyone. Problem is that on this side it's sunny, so my phone is in the sun. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think we're somewhat set up. Hope there's no wind, because if the wind comes, it's just gonna blow everything away. You guys want to try a social experiment? Whew. It is nicer in the sun, though.
Yes.
A well-planned vegan diet is healthy and fine, says Dr. Mesh. Exactly. Well said. You want to try a social experiment? Sometimes that's all we have to do, huh? Ah, damn. My jacket fell. Can you guys hear me okay? Sorry, I keep moving. I need to... That's how it is on the street. Yeah, okay, perfect. That's the problem with sitting on the street, huh? There's wind, there's sitting and waiting for people to come by and talk to us. I genuinely don't think there's any argument that anybody can bring that would make veganism not make sense, but let's see. Maybe somebody will, right? That's why we're here. Being vegan is not lefty. Yeah, exactly. being vegan is you can be vegan regardless of your political spectrum. It's not a political thing. It's merely a stance against animal exploitation. So if you think it's wrong to exploit animals, if it's wrong to slaughter animals, especially given that we don't need to do any of it, then you should be vegan. Or in other words, let me put it this way: if you are, if you think that taking the life of a dog so that you can wear their skin, if you think that is wrong, then you should be vegan. It starts with that. Just think about that. Would you kill a dog so that you can wear their skin? In today's society, not in a life or death scenario, but rather in today's society, you can buy different clothes, you can wear different clothes, but would it be okay to bring to life a dog, keep them in a closed container? Doesn't even matter really. You just give them you give them a little bit of time to run around in the field, and then at 1 year old, you slaughter them, and then you use their skin for, I don't know, making clothes, let's say, or making purses. Would that be okay? You guys want to try a social experiment? Hey, you want to try a social experiment? Emotionally damaged people, says somebody. You guys want to try a social experiment? So I want to hear in the chat, is it okay to bring a dog to life for the sole purpose of killing them and wearing their skin? You want to try a social experiment? Just ask you some questions. Yeah, are you okay being live from my YouTube channel? That was my first question.
Which channel is it?
I can tell you afterwards. You can be off camera if you don't feel comfortable, however you feel.
Okay, yeah, let's do off camera.
Okay, that's okay. What's your name?
John,
John, nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Netherlands.
Netherlands, I'm Chip. How about you? What's your name?
Helena.
Helena, I'm Chip. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
You also here from here, right?
Yes, my daughter.
Your daughter, yeah. Okay. How do you feel about animals?
Animals.
Yeah.
I think they are important for the planet. They are cute, they are gorgeous, and yeah, I love them.
Do you think dogs should be exploited?
No, definitely not.
What if we get benefit from exploiting dogs? Like,
Uh,
let's say we want to raise a dog, and at 1 year old we kill them so that we can wear their skin. Would that be okay?
No, I'm completely against that, unless it is required for the survival of
Exactly.
human being.
But given that it is not required, it would be wrong, right?
Definitely not. Yes.
Okay, so in the case that doing that to a dog for wearing their skin is wrong, do you think it would be okay to do that to a dog so that you can eat them?
No, of course not. And not only dog. I think every single animal on the planet, even cows or sheep, all these things.
Yeah,
I think only for survival.
exactly. So then, given that we don't need to consume any animal products, then wouldn't you say that it's wrong to consume animal products according to your values?
Yes.
Are you vegan?
I am not, but maybe in the future, because becoming vegan is not so easy. It takes some time, training.
What specifically do you find it hard?
Yeah, just physically, because the body is used to some specific nutritions, which our body is trained with mostly with meat. And I am also athletic. I do sports, so to me it would be a little bit difficult to. But I try to do less and less.
Would you, if it were dogs in the situation instead of cows, chickens, and pigs that we have in supermarket, right? Like on the news, it comes out that the only thing that you find in supermarkets are killed dog meat. Would you have the same stance where you say, I'll do it step by step at some point, or
Yeah, I
would you
would
do
be.
it instantly?
It becomes near to the survival thing, right? I would be very hesitant, but I don't know.
It wouldn't be a
at this
survival
point.
thing because you can still eat plants or plant-based products, right? So you
Yeah.
could still.
Yeah. Then I think the Drimple will be still much higher to stop and because it is not only, it's also a mental thing. We are not used to, we are not supposed to eat dog meat.
But do you think that from the perspective of a dog or from the perspective of a cow, there's any difference between their experience that justifies killing one or the other for food, for optional food?
No, of course not. So they are all animals. They have their own souls. So of course it is.
So then wouldn't the logically consistent thing to say is that regardless if they're a dog, a cow, or a pig, your path towards not exploiting them for optional food should be the same?
Yeah, of course. And I think even I will take it a step further. I'm even against exploiting, because I call it exploitation,
Yeah.
of pets.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah. Having pets at home, because that's human being that made them as a pet. Now we are trying to make different species of all dogs and cats and all. So I'm completely against that.
Yeah, the pet industry is cruel in its own right.
Yeah.
I think it's okay if you like get a rescue pet because you're basically giving them a better life instead of letting them be in a cage in a sanctuary, right? Like you're at least helping them thrive in your house. And if you're treating them as a member of the family, which most people are, then I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah.
That's what we think. But you ask from the perspective of the dog or the cat, I would say, I cannot say 100% sure, but I would say that they are fine with that because they don't have any other choice.
You mean like, yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but if they don't have any other choice, then it's still obviously morally
Yeah.
preferable to have them in a warm place where they're...
Instead of
Instead of a cage or
otherwise,
something.
otherwise
Yeah.
they will starve if they leave them outside. They are
Yeah.
not able to survive by their own.
And I agree with you, bringing them to existence just for our pleasure so that we can keep them up as pets is pretty messed up and we shouldn't be doing that. But then bringing them to existence for optional food is also wrong, right?
It is very wrong.
So do you think, because you're saying that, but do you think if I say it's wrong to exploit women, but then I exploit women, does my saying of it's wrong to exploit women mean anything as long as I still participate in it?
I didn't get your question. What do you mean by?
So if I say it's wrong to exploit women,
Mm-hmm.
but then I go and pay for women to be exploited,
Yeah.
and is it?
Yeah, it's same thing.
Does my statement mean anything? Does my statement that it's wrong to exploit women mean
Yeah,
anything?
that is the same thing, because
Yeah.
In that case you are actually misuse the iemand, the someone's needs. Yeah, that maybe the woman is needy, she needs to pay, but by doing that, you are actually keeping and encouraging these kind of things. Maybe you can help in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then, if you say you're against exploiting animals, if you keep participating in it, are you really against exploiting animals?
I'm really against. Yeah.
But if you say that,
Yeah.
your mouth says that, but
Yeah.
your actions say something else. Because if you, after this, you go into a supermarket
Yeah,
and you're going to be
yeah,
paid for an animal to be
yeah.
exploited,
Yeah.
are you really against it?
Yeah, this is the thing, that paradox
Yeah.
of human being. We are, but I think it starts with consciousness. To be conscious
Yeah.
that this is happening and this is wrong,
Yeah.
and step by step. I think everything that you do a radical way will not be a good thing, because we are doing this for centuries.
But you haven't
millennials.
been doing it for centuries. Like I understand society, and society indeed will take it as a step by step. But you as an individual have been doing it your whole life, let's assume.
Yeah.
But you can always just switch overnight, or take
Yeah.
a month, or take a
Yeah,
week, or whatever, and switch.
of course, can. And it is, but again, I'm saying that, I'm feeling that, And indeed, it's a bit paradox,
Yeah.
not to take directly a step,
Yeah.
probably human weakness, but it would be good to do that. Yeah.
So how many more animals should be exploited on your behalf until you make a change?
Less and less,
Less and
I would
less?
say, less
What
and
would you
less,
want to be? What would your ideal number be? 0 or more than 0?
Yeah, ideal is 0, of course.
Yeah.
Ideal
That
is
would
0.
imply you need to go vegan right away, right?
Yeah.
Because every time you will buy an animal product, an innocent animal will be exploited for you.
Yeah, of course, but I see it in a step by step. Also, it is a survival thing, and this is something that I think as well to consider also your own health and well-being.
If I provide you with resources that would help you with your health and your well-being, and that would help you.
To my knowledge, I
Yeah.
have done my studies and researched a lot. I also seen lots of people that are doing that, and what I know by experience, people who directly immediately switch, they get difficulties. They get a lot of physical problems, but also later on mental problems.
Well, I'm a certified nutritionist, and I can tell you that if they are having a poor nutrition, of course they'll have physical or mental issues. But as long as they maintain a proper diet, it doesn't really matter if the source of the protein is coming from a killed animal or a plant. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, it's not like your body knows where that source of protein comes from.
Yeah, it is not only about, you probably know better than me,
Yeah.
but it is not only about the protein, it is all the minerals, it is all about the other nutritions like...
Oh, 100%. When I said protein, I didn't necessarily mean the protein. I really mean
all the
like
nutritions.
any nutrients that you get. They don't. It doesn't really matter where they're coming from, as long as you get them in, right? So
indeed.
yeah, it's true that people need to learn where to get them from, but I can provide you with that. And what I want to see from you is the willingness to change, right? Do you think it's important that we stop exploiting animals?
Yeah, I think certainly.
Yeah. And do you think
By
that?
the way, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, we have to go because we are waiting.
Sure.
for
Let
us.
me give you a card
Do
before
you
you
have
go.
a question?
Do you have a
to my
question?
daughter?
Yeah.
No.
How do you feel about this, about being vegan and stuff?
Well, yeah, me myself, I eat a lot of chicken and meat every day, but yeah, I do think it's bad and that it shouldn't like happen as much as what's happening now. But yeah,
When you say as much, it shouldn't happen as much. Do you think that it should happen a little bit?
well, yeah, I don't know. No,
So do you think there should be any chicken, because you said chickens, right? Do you think should there be any chicken that has their throat cut and then they get chopped up into pieces for optional food?
no. If you think about it, it's actually really bad and
Yeah.
but
Because they all feel like us, right? They all have, maybe not like us, because I also don't know if you guys feel like me, right? We all kind of feel in slightly different ways, but they do have emotions, they do feel pain, they do feel love, they do feel happiness and sadness. And I feel like to take that away from them for something that we don't need. Like if I ask you, what did you eat, well, I don't know, a month and a half ago, you probably don't even remember, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's a meal that took 10 minutes and we forget about it, and for them, it's their whole existence that gets taken away from them.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up, right?
yeah, that's
Okay, let me give you a card
If
before
you
you
give
go.
me your card,
Yeah,
then,
you have my YouTube channel also,
Okay.
and I urge you to watch. I mean, Dominion is kind of gruesome, so if you want to watch it with her, maybe don't watch that. I don't know, but the most important speech you'll ever hear, they just explain everything, like about meat, dairy, eggs. A lot of people don't really know about the practices behind those, and I feel like knowing what's behind them can at least help you make more informed decisions on your own,
Yeah.
because I cannot tell you what to do going forward. And if you decide that you don't want to be part of, and I hope you want to go vegan, there's a thing there called Challenge 22. They hook you up with a nutritionist and send you recipes every day for free. They help you go
Very
vegan.
good. Thanks a lot.
Thank
You're
you for having
doing
this
a
conversation
good
with
job,
me.
for at least that's what I'm talking about always to my children.
Yeah.
About being of value for the planet, for the humans, for the society, for the animals.
We need
And this
to,
is
yeah,
one of
we
the
need to
things.
get better, yeah.
So yeah, thanks a lot.
Is this on TikTok or?
It's on YouTube actually, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
good one, and
You too.
make changes, okay? That was a good conversation. It's kind of a peaceful conversation. I don't want to. Lots of animals are protected and have freedoms. Exactly. Um, that's the whole point of it. All animals should be, well, I don't know if protected is the right word, but they should be protected from needless exploitation. That's for sure. Like, protected from other humans. That's for sure. Protected from, because all humans can, well, I don't know if all of them, but if you can have a solution where you can thrive and you don't need to exploit animals, then you cannot possibly morally justify the exploitation, because you always end up in these situations where you're bringing, well, taste, what about my taste? Well, what about this? What about that? Well, it's pretty simple. If you can choose not to exploit an animal, if you can choose to get all the taste, an amazing taste, everything nutrient specific that you need, then how can you ever morally justify putting an animal through a slaughterhouse? You can't. You just cannot. It would be wrong, wouldn't it? Somebody said you guys are weird. I'm out. What is it that you find weird about respecting animals' rights, about respecting animals, about not forcing them into slaughterhouses for something that we don't need? Hey Pia, nice to see you here. I think it's very important that we try to challenge all of these preconceptions that we have been taught our entire life. Oh, it's okay to eat these animals, but you gotta treat these animals nicely. Oh, it's wrong to be racist, or like challenge them. Why is it wrong to be racist? Has any of you have asked yourself, why is it wrong to be racist? Is it just because somebody told you so? No, it's not. That's not the reason why. Of course it is wrong, but ask yourself why. Because when you realize why it is wrong to do so, you also realize why it would be wrong to do any other form of discrimination towards any other animal. Because discriminating based on race is just as stupid as discriminating based on species. They're all just categories. You guys want to try a social experiment? Go live in and from nature for a year, says Radboud. Why would I do that? If I can thrive on a plant-based diet living here in a city, in a society, why would I say go live in nature? Well, you go live on a deserted island with just you and one other person. One of you will kill each other to survive. Does that morally justify killing a human being? Because if you live in a certain area, you might have to resort to cannibalism. Does that morally justify cannibalism? No. So, yeah, we gotta think a little bit, okay? We can't just throw out situations where we think, oh, what about this situation? What about that situation? If you're in the situation that you're in, you can choose to make better options. Why not make better options? It's as simple as that, right? Somebody said, great work, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Moa, thank you for being here. Do you eat eggs? Somebody asked me. No, I do not eat eggs, because eggs are the product of needless animal exploitation. I can explain to you all the things that happen, but yeah. You guys want to try a social experiment? So for eggs, the chickens that lay eggs, the hens that lay eggs, come from a hatchery. What happens in a hatchery is there's workers who separate the males from the females. The chickens that are made to lay eggs are different than the chickens that are made for meat. They're different species, right? So what we do is we separate, when the baby chick comes out of the egg, there will be humans who will say, well, this is a male, this is a female. The females go to small farms, backyard farms, large farms, industrial farms, all of these, right? They all come from hatcheries. So they will all go to either a lovely place or a shitty place. I think they're all eventually shitty, but let's say if you picture that a small farm is somehow lovely for animals, they will go either there or to a shitty place, because almost everybody will agree that factory farming is shitty. So there's that, right? But what happens, and of course there's a 50-50 chance when they hatch out of an egg that they'll either be male or female. of course, right? It's pretty normal. We don't have to judge any of that. So the females go there, and the males, what do you think they do with them? They're a different species. They're not the ones who are grown for meat, so they don't produce a lot of meat, and they also don't make any eggs. So to the industry, they're classed as waste. They're classed as we don't need them. So what they do is they kill them on their first day of life. Sometimes they either shred them alive in an industrial macerator, or they gas them to death. That's what they do in hatcheries, and it's kind of fucked up. I personally wouldn't want to be part of it. That's one of the reasons why I don't eat eggs. There's also the fact that when the hens can no longer lay an egg every day, they get slaughtered. Even in the best of farms, chickens, egg-laying hens live up to a year, maybe a year and a half, and they can live up to 10 years. So, imagine somebody saying at 10-15% of your lifespan, that's it. I no longer have any use for you. You're going to be slaughtered. That's insane. And this whole mentality of us seeing them as objects should be stopped. I see a lot of silencing being done there. Benji, I see you're timing people out. Please don't time them out unless it's necessary, because we want more people to be here. And if we time them out, they're going to leave. And we want to have conversations. We want them to listen. We want all of this positive discourse. So I trust your judgment. I'm just reminding you that if we absolutely need to time them out, then time them out. Otherwise, Only one person says Ben. Okay.
Well, she kind of changed the system. Like, she figured it out.
Hi.
Hello.
Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Sure.
What's your name?
I'll stand. Yeah, Diego. Diego?
Diego, where are you from?
Mexico?
Mexico, okay. Diego, let me ask you this. Should the powerful have the right to oppress the powerless?
How do you define powerful and powerless?
Doesn't matter, any form of measurement of power. If somebody can oppress somebody else and they have either
I don't think
intellectual
so.
or physical power,
I don't think
should
so.
they be allowed to oppress them?
No.
No, okay. So you said even if they have physical or intellectual power, even if they benefit from it, and by they I mean the powerful?
Like if they benefit from oppressing other people?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they should. I don't think that you should get value from the detriment of somebody else. Or at the cost of somebody else.
Yeah. Even like oppression means cruel or unjust treatment, right? Or an exercise of authority.
Yeah.
So even if it were just one person over one person, having authority over one other person, oppressing them would still be wrong, right?
Yes.
Even if it's not a mass of people. Okay,
Yes.
just want to be clear. Okay. And do you think we should be judging whether somebody should be oppressed or not based on characteristics coming from their DNA? Like maybe skin color, maybe hair color?
No.
No? What if we question whether they walk on two legs or not?
No, not
No?
really.
No,
I mean,
doesn't
like
really matter.
dogs or cats, no.
So should we be oppressing dogs or cats?
I guess that's an interesting question I hadn't thought about, because I guess like technically you could say that a domesticated animal is being oppressed. But at the same time they're brought into it, so they don't necessarily know that they're being oppressed.
Do you think oppressing somebody, even if they don't know that they're oppressed, is okay?
I guess huh? No, I mean, I guess like at a fundamental level, like I don't think so. But I think that I hadn't thought about it in terms of like pets or even as children, right? Because again, like a children has to follow or follows what their parents are saying, which I guess is different.
It is different because in that sense...
Because again, they might not know better, or they might feel like they're being oppressed, but actually it could be in their benefit.
Yeah, well, oppression
Or
means
protecting
cruel
them.
or unjust, right? Like parents usually speak for their children or do things against
So
their consent.
Following that definition, right? If we're saying like actually oppression is cruel and unjust, then I think if you think about it from a pet standpoint, right? Like if you are an owner that is cruel to your pet and withholds food or anything like that, then 100% I don't think that should be allowed. But if you take care of your pet and you give them, a lot of opportunity and you take them out for walks or, basically make sure that they have what they need to live a very healthy, happy life, then
But let me ask you this:
then
do
I
you think we
that's
should be
fine.
bringing into existence dogs for the sole purpose of them being companions to us?
So I guess I'm going to answer yes, but I think there's
Isn't that oppressive to begin with?
you could think about it, but I think it's like I think there is that level of like how they live, and I guess part of the thinking as well is also like dogs, for example, actually can bring a lot of benefit to people. So you have like in the military, you have bomb dogs that are saving people's lives, and I guess technically you could say, well, if the IED goes off and kills the dog, then is that cruel?
Yes.
Which I guess
It's very cruel to the dog,
There
yes.
it is cruel to the dog. But you also have things like service animals, right, which help, for example, people that have limited mobility experience a fulfilling life. And actually, those dogs get a lot of value and a lot of benefit from that fulfillment. So, like, yes, they've been trained to kind of see that as a reward and see like that person benefiting and having a reward as a positive thing. So actually, them, helping that person get through a door or finding the steps, like, is rewarding for them. In which case, I don't think that is oppressive, right?
So the way I see it, you're narrowing it down to if there is a need for it, then we can sort of justify it, right?
To some level, but I think, I think the pet piece, I think gets a bit in the gray area. So like, actually, what is oppression and is it being cruel or not
Fair
being
enough.
cruel? I think with people, I find that to be much more clear cut, right? Because I think, like, I don't think that one person should benefit off another person's misfortune or negativity.
We can go down that route again, but like you said, there's a gray area. I'll accept that it's a gray area. We can go back to it, but I'm trying to ask you, what about other animals like cows, chickens, and pigs? Do you think they're oppressed?
Cows, chickens, pigs. Don't know.
Do you think it's
I guess
cruel
you-
and
you
unjust
can
to
make-
exploit them for something we don't need?
Maybe. I think again, it kind of, to me, I think part of it just goes back to how they're being treated.
So to you, it doesn't really matter that fact that whether we need to or not, as long as they're slaughtered for food. For you, it's okay if they're treated nicely. Taking their life away isn't really cruel or unjust to you for something that we don't need.
I guess it goes back to like the definition of like, if we feel like we actually need meat to survive, right? But you need protein and you need other pieces.
Well, it's not about this isn't a feeling. This is a biological response, and we have several studies showing that we don't need to consume animal products.
Yeah.
We have several nutritional and dietitian organizations around the planet confirming this. So if we can thrive on a plant and plant-based product, therefore consuming animal products means that we are oppressing an innocent animal, right?
Yeah, but I guess by your definition, then yes.
But what exactly is by my definition?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess like if you follow it to say like we're, cruel and oppressing of animals, then, and we don't need like meat or animal products, then yes, they are being oppressed.
So you would agree that if we don't need to, they're being oppressed, right?
Yeah.
So given that we don't need to, because that's the science behind it, wouldn't you say that then you have a moral obligation to not participate in it so that you can maintain your status of being against oppression?
Yeah, I think again for animals, I feel like that is, like I find that, like I agree with your line of thinking, but I feel like I find that particularly tough.
Tough to not oppress animals.
Yeah, to some level. I mean, I guess if like again, it is sort of like you are, some like these animals, some of them are they are being raised for meat or for dairy or for food or for products.
And do you think that's
right?
moral?
Like you raise chickens for eggs. You raise.
But do you think that's
beef for
moral to
corals.
bring into existence a sentient being so that you can cut their throat and cut them into pieces to put on your plate when you don't need to, when you can always choose something else?
Well, you could choose something else, right? But I think the question is like, do people always choose something else? And I don't think they do.
That's okay, but so we can talk about what other people do, and it's always like very interesting to hear perspectives like that, right? But the reason why I want to have these conversations with people on the street like yourself is because I kind of want to understand your logic. Like, how do you justify this?
Well, so I guess, my family has been in the dairy business, which I think is why I'm finding this particularly tough.
Yeah.
Because, for example, like we had we had a dairy farm, and we would bring all the cows, like we had cows and chickens and pork growing up. And actually, it is that dairy business that has then provided for our family.
Like money.
Yeah, well, like that is where we
Does that make
we
more?
got our income.
Does that
and
make it moral
is-
what we do to animals if we get money from it?
Well, I guess like from our family's sake, right? Like I guess it's like all of our cows were we're taken care of very well.
How many males did you have?
In the herd,
Yeah.
we normally only had a couple of bulls.
So what happens to the rest?
They would get sold.
Yeah. So they were killed, basically.
Well, they would get sold. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that not? Wouldn't you find that wrong?
Yeah. I do think like the alternative for them to grow and be free, then yeah.
Well, don't you think that if you bring a sentient being into existence, you have a moral responsibility to give them freedom? Like, what gives you the right to bring a moral being into existence in the first place? That a moral being without using your own body, right? Because if you make a baby, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
But using somebody else's body, so you're manipulating somebody else's reproductive system to bring a baby to life, so that you can exploit their reproductive system. That means getting their milk. So then you can also exploit their babies. That means getting meat from them. All for something that you don't need, just because you can. And just because you get money from it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Sorry, what was the
So the question is, what's the moral justification behind doing this? Because doing it for money, I don't think it's moral, right? You wouldn't say doing the wrong thing, if you get money for it, makes it right.
I guess no, it doesn't make it right, but I think we also then have the choice in terms of how they, like, once we do make that initial decision, how they do then live the rest of their lives, right? So, to some level, we are exploiting, for example, cows for their milk.
We are, not
And
some level.
yeah, we are
All the
exploiting
levels,
cows for
yeah.
their milk. But then I think within that same spectrum, you have the cows that have a lot of freedom and are taken care of very well, and actually live
What
I
kind
would
of
argue,
freedom do
pretty
they
good
have?
life.
Do they have freedom to go in the forest?
They've got like many acres of land that they can roam around.
So if they want to, if
they're
somebody
outside.
were-
They're still so. There's a couple of pieces. One is like there's for our cows at least there were like pastures that they could live in, and we would also just let them roam the mountains, because in the morning we would just herd them back up for the milking parlor. But it's actually quite interesting.
did they have the I'm sorry, did they have the freedom to not get pregnant? So that they don't produce milk?
No, that's part of the.
And is
like,
that
dairy
okay
process.
in your values? It's okay to impregnate an animal because you can get what you want from them against their consent.
Well, I guess I don't know. Can they provide consent? Is how
So
you
if they
define it.
cannot
But-
provide consent, do you think it's okay to force consent on them?
Well, no. I mean, I feel like, yeah. I guess I don't know.
Take it away.
Yeah.
Say it again.
They can't withhold consent, is what you mean, right?
Like, can
Well,
you go to a cow and ask a cow?
even children cannot withhold consent, right? Because it doesn't really matter. If you have power over somebody, of course they cannot withhold consent because you have power over them. Does that make it right to do that to them?
What if the animal is the animal being grown for that purpose?
If we bring a human being to life for a purpose like that, would it be okay? Would it make it moral?
I think for me, I think it's the difference between humans and animals.
And what
I
is that
guess-
difference?
Well, I guess just, yeah, I guess it is just, yeah, maybe societal pieces, right? So like if
But
society
that's not a
was
difference
different-
between a human and an animal. That's a difference that we created these categories, right? We're on this side, and we say because we have power over you, we can structure you in any form of categories we want, and we can deem your category as the one that are going to be exploited. Hence, cows are exploited. We can deem like dogs as a category that's, you know, we give love, we still exploit them in a way, but we don't do these cruel things to them. But we decided all of this for them. None of them decided that for themselves, right?
They
So
couldn't decide it for themselves.
they couldn't. So does that mean we should decide that for them?
But as in, like, they couldn't. There is no alternative.
Well, there is. We should just not do that to them.
Yeah, but as in, like, they couldn't decide
Yeah.
to not be part of that. Like,
So-
so we can't decide to not be part of society. or like I guess like they couldn't decide to be part of a society or not a society. So as in like,
So they cannot consent, right?
but they can't not consent either. As in like you're
Again,
making
yeah,
the difference
so-
between a human and an animal, and we have society.
There's several humans who cannot consent also, like intellectually challenged human beings who have the mental capacity of an animal, and there's several people like that on this planet. They cannot consent for themselves. Would it be okay for us to take advantage of them, sexually exploit them, bring them to life to do whatever we please with them because they cannot consent?
No.
No, but we cannot also justify it simply by saying, well, they're human and they're human and they are animals, because that's literally just a category. Humans are animals. We're also animals, right? We're just a different type of animal, and they're a different type of animal. So what exactly trait difference is there that justifies the difference in treatment?
Well, there must be something in terms of you have a food chain.
Well,
Like you have a food chain, you have like a whole process of like natural cycle that
but
leads
this
us
isn't
to be
natural.
different.
First of all, this isn't natural. There's no animal on this planet who brings to life another animal for the sole purpose of exploiting and slaughtering them. That's number one. And number two, even if the food, what do you call it, the food chain, it's not a measurement of power. It's a measurement of how energy flows in an ecosystem. But even if it were a measurement of power, if we have power over them, which we all acknowledge that we do have power over them,
Yeah.
does that give us the moral right to do whatever we want to them?
No, as in like it's not that you have the. It's not just because you have the ability to do it that you should do it. And I think that's a very fair statement. But I also don't think it's completely like black and white to say like that just because they can't consent doesn't mean that they haven't consented, or just that they haven't consented doesn't mean it wouldn't happen, because it would in a natural place.
Do you think any animal wants to be...
Would kill a cow,
How many of these animals do you think want to be killed for food?
but as in like they wouldn't necessarily always have that choice anyway.
Well,
As in,
if
like,
we
we
bring
would
them to
choose
life,
to
if we
kill someone else.
if we like the life of an animal, like I understand you may think that the life of an animal is either eat or be eaten, but that's not true, right?
always. Yeah, but that's
So
what
then-
I'm saying. So there is an element of that eat or be eaten process to what happens
Well,
to
these
them
animals,
anyway.
we bring them to life to exploit and kill them. Does that sit right to you?
But isn't like you also grow trees so that you can cut it down for paper?
But there's a difference between a sentient being and a tree.
Sort of.
No. There definitely is. These are beings who have the capability to feel, to emote, to think. They make decisions. They feel love. They have families. They have friends. These are exactly like
To a
us in all the ways that
certain
matter.
extent, But like you could say like as in like you're talking about like power over something that doesn't consent. Like the tree will give you oxygen to breathe, and yet you'll still tear it down if it's in the way of something else.
The tree again does not have a subjective experience of the world like we do. Like you look
But
through your
we
eyes, there's
also
somebody
have a
there.
very different objective experience of the world than the cow does.
So if you have a different subjective experience than me, if I have a much richer subjective experience than yourself, does that give me the right to exploit and slaughter you?
It doesn't give you the right, but would you do it?
No.
Yes.
Why would I do that? Of
But
course
isn't
not.
like look at society. It's set up in exactly that way.
So,
a
but
parent
okay, I
does
know.
that to a child.
I-
A government does that
No.
to their
First of all, a
people,
parent.
like,
No, that's not
you-
true. A parent does not do that to a child. A parent, of course, a child cannot consent, right? We know that from the start. But a parent has the intent of the child when they're making decisions for that child. When a parent forces a child to go to school, they don't do it because they get their kick or their rocks off. They do it because they know it's the best thing to do for that child. We exploit and slaughter these animals not because it's the best thing for them, but because we get benefit from it. Imagine a parent exploiting a child because they benefit from it. And by they, I mean the parent. That's fucked up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we do to animals. So my question is, why is
But
it
we
wrong
also,
to do
sorry,
to children?
What I mean is we also do it in society to each other. Like not to the point where we might kill
But we
them.
don't find it moral when we do it, right?
Well,
And if
that
we have the
doesn't mean
choice
it
to
doesn't
not,
happen,
it
though.
does happen, but my question is, if we have the choice to not do it, how can we morally justify choosing to do it?
But isn't like you should also not do it just because you can? Is your point, no?
My
So, like,
point
do
is,
it
given
within
that you
society.
have the option to not do it, why? How can you morally justify doing it?
But that's what I'm arguing is that actually it still happens even though it's morally wrong.
Death, rape, all of these are morally wrong and they still happen. But that doesn't mean you go and kill people or rape people because you know it's wrong. So if you know that it's wrong to do this to these animals, how can you morally justify doing this to these animals?
I'm not
Well, have
saying
you
you
ever,
can.
like, but like I've never killed a cow.
But
I've
you
never-
pay others to do it. Is it not the same? It starts with you.
Sort of, but like there is an element where I think it is still like it still happens in society. Even,
doesn't happen-
like, to people.
Well, it doesn't
Like,
happen
women
because it
get
just
raped.
happens. Yes, but you pay for it. Imagine if I was here, sitting here telling you you're paying for women to get raped. Would you not see it as a moral obligation to stop paying for it?
Yes, but like.
So then,
you
if in the
pay-
case of animals, when I sit here and tell you that animals are exploited and slaughtered for you, why do you not see it as a moral obligation to stop?
Well, no, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I'm sorry, just arguing the point that actually, like, it happens in society because that's the way it's sort of structured to do so. As in, like, there is an element of exploitation on people to people and definitely to animals.
For sure.
And, like, there is a natural element that there is a chain that happens regardless of, like, each individual's involvement.
So I'll give you this, right? We have created systems that contain exploitation in our society. That is true. Those systems need to improve, right? Like child labor is something that happens in some countries. We definitely need to work on that and improve on that. The only difference is that systems that depend on exploitation, right? Like animal agriculture is a system that depends on exploitation. We can never have animal agriculture without exploiting animals. These systems can never be improved because regardless of how we improve them, we will always be exploiting animals.
Could
These
you not
systems,
improve it so that, like, a cow lives its life and then when it's going to die anyway that you could
but
have
we
it then?
still exploit them, don't we?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Could you not improve it to the point where it's not exploitation, they're living their life, and then when it dies...
So that would imply that we don't control their breeding system, right?
Yeah.
So then it's already no longer farming because
So
we just
here's
allow
the
them.
question
that's
then.
what I'm saying.
And
So
then
like
we
chickens.
give me a second. Then we let them live
Yeah.
up to the age of 25, like cows can live.
Yeah.
And then you say once they die, we eat them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So theoretically, there is nothing wrong with that, right? If you
Okay.
accidentally hit an animal with your car as you're walking down the street,
Yeah.
and you want to eat them, I have nothing to
Okay.
say against that. But if you would hit a person on the street and you want to eat them, they're dead and you want to eat them, and this person, let's say you have no legal repercussions if you want to eat them, right? Because we also have rules against that. I would say it's exactly the same thing to me, right? So if you think
Okay.
it's wrong to eat a human being after they died and you have no legal and like morally.
Yes, yeah,
You
yeah,
see what
yeah.
I mean?
Morally,
Like-
you think that's okay.
Yeah, it's the same as doing it to an animal. I don't think it's okay, but I don't mind if somebody thinks it's okay. You know,
Well,
my
isn't,
problem
like, maybe
is
it's more closer to, like, organ harvesting is probably a
Fair
closer
enough.
representation of human to human.
yeah. But like
rather than eating them.
we give consent in that situation, right? So when in the lack of consent, we respect kind of the body autonomy of these individuals, and I
Yeah.
think we should respect body autonomy of animals also. Just because they cannot consent doesn't mean we should not respect their body autonomy.
Yeah.
In fact, there's animals on this planet who have funerals like we do. They do certain actions because they feel grief, because they feel all of this, right? So I feel like a lot of the things we as humans do, we account it to our intelligence or our higher intelligence,
Yeah.
but the reality is a lot of the things we do on our day-to-day basis
Yeah.
are coming from instincts and things that we have as the animals that we are,
Yeah.
not from our intelligence. And if we acknowledge that, then what makes us in any way better than any other animal? We just have power over them, that's it.
It's a
No,
very interesting thought.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I would completely agree with that, and I don't think you should necessarily say that you don't think it can be improved, because I think it could, and it could get to the point where actually the animals live
But that wouldn't be
freely with us.
agriculture anymore.
No, but it is an improvement to, like, let those animals live, and then if, like, they do die, then you could eat them, kind of thing.
So, I
Because-
That just still wouldn't be farming again. So like,
No, but it's
I'm,
an
So here's
improvement
the
to the
question,
system,
right? So
yeah.
like, let's say you have some chickens in your backyard. They're naturally gonna lay eggs.
yeah.
So that, like, when you're not doing anything, they're just following their natural processes. They're naturally like eating. If you feed them, they'll just naturally
But why do you
eat.
have chickens? Where did you buy the chickens in the first place? The place where you bought the chickens from, do you know what they do with the male chicks? Because the chickens that we grow for eggs are different than the chickens that we grow for meat. They're different species.
Yeah, they are different species, but I guess that, like,
Yeah, but you could have a cockerel.
yeah, you
So
can.
what
can
do you
still
think
have a
we do?
cockerel
What do you
in
think
your-
they do?
You
What
can
do you
still
think?
have I guess my point being kind of like, again, like, so you're following your line of thinking, right? Like, regardless of where you got it from, you having a chicken in your house is and you, like, the eggs that it lays, again, those are part of its natural process.
Well, how many eggs do you think a wild chicken would lay normally?
So I like, isn't it like one egg every, like, day and a half or something? Is The
12 to 15 eggs per year, a wild chicken. We selectively bred them to lay an egg every day, so they lose a lot of nutrients. So what they do in sanctuaries is they take the eggs, hatch them, and chickens come pecking at it to get the nutrients back. You can notice that if you have a chicken, you can just smash the egg on the floor and they come eating at it. But let's say you do that, right? And you still have some excess legs and you want to eat them. I have no problem with that. Like again, the whole point why I'm sitting here is not about trying to find
specifically,
ways.
Like commercialized.
It's not
farming
about
or
trying to find.
commercialized agriculture.
It's not about trying to any form of agriculture. Trying to find ways where we can morally justify consuming some animal products. I'm sure there are ways out there. Like if you pick up a feather in the forest, right? You find a feather on the ground. This is, by the way, a big debate in the vegan movement. If you find a feather on the ground and you pick it up, there's no harm being done there. But if you could argue that if you put that feather on yourself, people think like, oh, look, you look so nicely, then they're gonna go and buy feathers, and those feathers are gonna be coming from other chickens being plucked, exactly. So in a sense, we gotta take context into consideration also. So in today's world where we see animals as resources, when you are perpetuating the same stereotype of them being just resources, they just give you, they provide for you, then you might be doing something wrong in that sense. But even in those situations, like I don't want to, I'm not here to tell you what to do if you find these situations, but in all other situations, if you go to a restaurant, if you go to a supermarket, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, you're going to be paying for some animals to be exploited and slaughtered. Don't you think that in those situations you should be choosing something else?
What about honey?
1 second. I saw your email this morning.
Oh, you saw my email this morning?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago, but I forgot about it.
Okay.
We can do it another time.
Okay.
You invited me for coffee, remember?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
Hey, that's
Another vegan person who was walking by and had a conversation with me. Yeah.
What about honey?
Well, honey, in the honey is the same thing. We are using bees for their honey. What we do is we take their hard-worked food, we replace it with water and sugar, which is way less nutritious for them, and then we take their honey. We have so many alternatives to honey. Like we have, I don't even know, like maple syrup, date syrup. We have so many choices that it really doesn't matter for us, right? Like we can choose otherwise.
Interesting.
But I guess, isn't that just shifting exploitation from one to another thing? Like shifting animal exploitation for like exploiting nature and exploiting other natural resources. And like, yes, maybe they're not
You mean like
sentient,
plants?
like plants, but like you are then creating, I guess, a non-natural balance
Well,
because
not
you're
really.
shifting all the focus to like, let's say trees, right? So like, let's using the honey thing, right? Maple syrup comes from maple trees, like pure maple syrup anyways. Like people would then plant all of those trees, would turn loads of land into forests, cut down the forests, and now you're removing the habitat of all the animals that used to live there.
But
Because
animal
the
agriculture,
trees-
sorry, just to stop you there, but animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation worldwide. And the reason for that is because we forget that in order to get a cow to grow up to 1 ton or whatever their weight is, we usually feed them the exact same things we can eat. We feed them, like in the Netherlands, for example, 40% of their diet is made out of soy. And we can use that soy, we could eat ourselves. Like even if you take only 40% of their diet, which is made of soy, you could still have more calories and more protein per person than you would from that whole cow. So regardless, you would be using considerable, like it takes 6 times more land to grow 1 gram of animal protein versus 1 gram of plant protein. So even in that situation, you're still ending up in a better situation worldwide. You're still using less land, less water, all of it. You're still better off because, again, you don't have to feed animals. You don't have to feed so many animals.
What would happen to all the cows?
Well, the reality is as more people go vegan, slowly we bring less and less into existence just to exploit them. And yes, at some point there will be a critical mass of animals, but we can just, I don't know, either create a sanctuary for them or there's so many things to do with them. And it would cost us less money also because animal agriculture is heavily subsidized. So I think even if we used half that money, we can still keep all the remaining cows if we ever get to that situation alive.
But
So-
like, wouldn't they just slowly die out?
Say it again.
Wouldn't they just go extinct?
Even if they do, would that be so unfair?
That'd be really sad to be in a world without cows.
But we would have the wild cows, the ones that we genetically manipulated to have the cows, in the first place.
But so I see what you're saying. So as in like dairy cows would die out,
Maybe.
meat cows would die
Yeah,
out.
but there, you know,
bulls
a lot
maybe.
of these animals, dairy cows, meat cows, hell, golden retrievers, you know, all these animals that we made, domestic animals, they have problems in all ways. Like dairy cows, they have these huge udders. They are starting to have back problems. So I think even if they live to old age, they would suffer. You know, that's why golden retrievers, because they've been selectively bred from the same family to the same family, they have hip issues. So
I have a golden retriever.
yeah, that you'll notice that when they go older, get older, they will have hip issues
I
because.
don't know. He's only 8. I hope he doesn't. He's gonna live
So,
forever.
well, around 10 years old, I had a golden retriever also.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, around the age of, around the 10 to 12, that's when they begin having some. You'll notice that they walk a little bit differently. So,
Well, this has been a very interesting conversation.
Yeah,
so
thank
I'll ask you one question before you go.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a difficult question. How many more animals should be exploited for you before you change?
None.
None.
We're already veggies.
You're already what?
Veggies.
Okay,
But we could do more.
you gotta be vegan because
Okay.
for dairy, you know what happens for
Yeah, I was
dairy.
gonna say dairy's a hard one to give up though.
I understand, but like for us, as hard as it is for us, it's much harder for the animals in this situation. Because you know, we forcefully inseminate them. We do that to get them pregnant. When the babies are born, we separate them from their mothers so that we can take their milk. If
Yeah.
the baby's born male, we either sell them or kill them. They end up being slaughtered because they don't produce milk. Because again, there are different species than the one grown for meat. So we do all this shit, and when the cows can no longer get pregnant, we kill them because
Yeah.
you know keeping them alive for that long would be wrong. So I don't know. I just think like if you can do better, please choose to do better. You know,
Yeah.
any choice you will make will have an impact on one innocent animal. So.
Yeah.
You know, you could be saving up to 100, 200 animals per year simply by going vegan. That's it.
Well, thank you for a very interesting
Yeah, it was so
conversation.
interesting. Thank you so much.
I recommend you either watch the most important speech. I think you should watch the most important speech you'll ever hear. It really talks about honey, as you said,
Oh, yeah?
eggs, all of it. The Minion shows you if you can watch that. Like it's pretty
Graphic?
gruesome, graphic,
Ah.
exactly. But if not, at least the most important speech you'll ever hear. And here, there's a thing there called Challenge 22. They hook you up with a nutritionist. They send you recipes every day and help you go vegan for free.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they just
Okay.
they're all activists and they wanna help out.
That's so nice. Oh, you've got a golden retriever.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Coincidence. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having this
much. It was
conversation
really
with
nice
me.
to meet you.
Make better choices, okay, for the
Thanks.
animals.
See you later.
Have a good one. Hey, the JFO show. And hey, hello everyone. I hope you're enjoying the conversations. We've had only 3 conversations so far. But they've been 3 decent conversations. And if you're enjoying the conversations, remember to like, to subscribe, to do all of those beautiful things. I just want to get those numbers up from time to time. You know, it helps me mentally to go home and be like, oh, those numbers are a little bit up. I really appreciate the man's clarity, respectful, compassion, empathy, passion, and commitment. Thank you. Yeah, Moa, we're here to try to be clear. I think it's very important that we're very honest with people, you know, that we explain things thoroughly. Like, you know, it definitely felt like these 2 were kind of trying to find justifications for some form of animal products. And I think in certain situations, right, like they said, if you are not creating exploitation, if you are not creating harm, and like you find an egg somewhere laying on the floor and it belongs to nobody, the egg is not fertilized, you have the power to know whether it's fertilized or not, and you take that egg and you eat them, of course there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But in a world where we see animals as resources, where we see animals as, you know, egg-laying machines, milk-making machines, meat-making machines, in a world where we just see them as objects, you are still perpetuating a stereotype. So that's the reality. But, you know, so if you ever want to do that, then all the more reasons for you to go vegan sooner and get the world to be vegan so that you can do that. It's pretty easy. You want to try a social experiment? Yes, this is a great exercise in purging our rationalizations. They came in saying that's just the way things are, to starting arguing in favor of his point of view. Yeah, exactly. I think, I don't know, like, I don't know how much he changed his mind, but his girlfriend definitely was, I felt like open-minded to it. So yeah, it's and at the end of the day, I think these kind of conversations, what they do is they fill in the gaps for a lot of people, right? Because I think a lot of people do have already thought about it, and a lot of people, when they think about it, they're like, what about this in their head? And then because they don't actually look into it, because who has time, right, to look into it, they go like, huh, so I'll just continue. So when we have these conversations, what they do is they fill in these gaps, and even if they actually do continue, at some point when they reach the same argument, they already realize, well, you know what, I've already had this argument before, I already know that it is wrong to do so because of this. So it brings them forward. It's a seed. It brings them forward. That's what it does, and that's kind of what we hope to do.
Will it work?
Hey, that gay vegan is here. Nice to see you here. What's the difference between vegetarian and vegan? Asks Space Money L. That's a good question. Well, first of all, vegetarian is a diet. Vegan is not a diet. But there is a diet associated with veganism, and I'll explain in a second. So vegetarians basically, they don't consume meat. That's it. And I think, or fish, but fish is also meat. I don't know why people consider fish as meat. So yeah, that's what vegetarians don't do. It's a diet basically where you reject eating the flesh of innocent individuals. And vegan is a moral position where we say we shouldn't be exploiting animals for anything, for food, for clothing, for entertainment. Given that we don't need to do any of it, we absolutely shouldn't, right? So that's the vegan position where we say needless exploitation should not be done, so don't participate in it. Needless exploitation of non-human animals, just to be clear. Of course, with veganism, there is an accompanying diet, right? Because when you say, I don't want animals to be exploited for my food because I can choose something else, that obviously implies that you don't consume any animal products. So, yeah, that's the difference. One is a diet, one is a moral position. Listening to this has me seriously considering returning to a vegetarian diet. Vegetarian is truly a next evolutionary step as humans and towards a true world peace. Thank you. Well, Moa, vegetarianism isn't really the solution. Sorry to burst your bubble there, because dairy cows are forcefully inseminated. They have their babies taken from them. Their babies are killed if they're born male. And if they're born female, every year they get exploited for their milk, for their babies again. And when they can no longer impregnate them, they kill them. And, so there's a lot of exploitation and murder being done also for vegetarian products. So I would say veganism is the solution, right? And that means a plant-based diet, a plant-only diet, an animal-free diet, however you want to call it, but you understand what I mean, whereas you don't consume any animal products. But Moa, of course, if you consume all animal products and you want to switch to vegetarian before you go vegan, obviously that's better. But if your only point is to go vegetarian and stop, then no, that's the same. It is sadly the same. You're still contributing to a system that exploits and slaughters animals. The dairy industry is the meat industry. Hey, Bible Dump Podcast, Davey. Nice to see you here. Thank you, Linda and host. We'll look up the difference and consider veganism instead. Thank you again, Moa. If you wanna start your process into looking into it, and I really appreciate when people are open-minded and they want to look into it. I appreciate your open-mindedness to it. If you want to start your process, in the description of this video, there's a 3-minute link. There's a thing. It's called 3minutes.wtf/. There's a code that I created. If you go there, you will just have to watch a 3-minute video, and it's the beginning. You want to try a social experiment? It's the beginning of your explanation, the beginning of your research. Basically, you see a little bit of a glimpse, 3 minutes of glimpse of what animals go through, and then you get to make your choices. You have several resources even to go forward from there, but then you can also look it up yourself within your own resources, within your own thing. But it's a good thing to start with, I think. 3 minutes takes nothing out of your time, right? You can even, if you want, you can go now, come back and tell us what you think, because I'll be here for sure in 3 minutes. UK Night Rider, hi everyone. Hi UK Night Rider, hi John Kautak, nice to see you here. Moa says, I used to be vegan for 15 years for human reasons, so I know I can do it effortlessly, says Moa. Yeah, just keep in mind, Moa, that it's like, I guess I'm being pedantic when I'm saying this. Just keep, like, if you were vegan for human reasons, as you said, like maybe for your health or environment, then you weren't actually vegan, you were maintaining a plant-based diet, right? Or doing other actions for those reasons. Veganism is a movement where we strictly reject animal exploitation. So it is about the animals. Just like feminism is about the women, veganism is about the animals. So if I were to put a hypothetical out there, if we lived in a society where we would be exploiting and slaughtering female humans for food, then being a feminist would imply that there is a diet where you wouldn't be participating in it, right? And hence that would be called a feminist diet. So that's why there is such a thing as a vegan diet, because it's a diet that's associated with veganism, but veganism is not a diet itself. This guy believes men can turn into women, by the way. What is a man and what is a woman to you, Natalie? Do you have a problem with people expressing themselves differently? Do you have a problem with gender being different than sex? Is that what you're telling me? That to you, gender and sex are the same? If gender and sex are the same to you, Natalie, tell me, if gender and sex are the same to you, then you should have no problem with a man wearing a dress, with a man wearing makeup, with a woman being the sole provider of a house, with basically what I'm saying is that if you think gender and sex are the same, then you have to reject the idea of masculinity and femininity, because they don't exist in that world. Masculinity and femininity only exist in a world where gender and sex are different. It's pretty simple. Makes sense, right? If you say a certain trait is more masculine, but you say a person can only be a man if they are born a man, if they are born with a sex man, then there is no such thing as more masculine or more feminine, because that person is a man, according to you. Because if you believe gender and sex are the same. So masculine and femininity means nothing, there's nothing. However, if you align and says that certain traits are more masculine and certain traits are more feminine, then you should yourself understand that gender and sex are different. It's pretty simple. We don't have to go around circles explaining other things. Just understand this whole simple concept. What's your opinion on zoos? They save animal species from the wild. No, they don't. I think what zoos do is they exploit animals for profit. Most zoos are for-profit zoos. What you are trying to say is that there are zoos that use the money to help with conservation of other species. And I mean, I guess to some extent that's okay, but conserving species is okay, and trying to get money in order to conserve species is okay. But exploiting animals in order to conserve their species, I don't think that's okay. I think you're just using the means to justify the ends. And I personally don't live by that rule. I don't think the means justify the ends. So it would be like us vegans starting to sell the flesh of animals and using that money to rescue animals. It's kind of, it kind of doesn't work. So a zoo that exploits animals to save a certain species doesn't really work, does it? It's kind of the same thing. Natalie says, are women who don't wear dresses men? Natalie, a man is somebody who identifies with a social structure, with a social... Hey, you guys want to try an experiment? I just ask you some questions. Okay. Who just identifies with all the social, normal, I forgot all the adjectives, traits of a man, and a woman is the same. That's to me. But again, if to you, men and women is strictly about sex, then you should reject the idea of femininity and masculinity. Again, it's simple. You can't have both. If you have both, then you have a contradiction. Bro, are you talking about being vegan or wearing dresses? I'm talking about both. I think animals should not be exploited, of course, for anything that we don't need. And I think trans people should be respected and they should be allowed to be who they want to be. Wait until he learns about testosterone, says. Wait until you learn that the fact that there's women who have high testosterone.
Yes.
Do you think the women who have high testosterone are men? Moa, thank you for reconsidering it. Well, watch the 3-minute video, Moa. You'll understand where we're coming from, and don't just think about reconsidering. You know, we need people to actually make actions. We need people to think and take action, because thinking, while it's excellent to think, it's excellent to look into it, it's excellent to judge, to try and judge your own preconceptions, to try and challenge your own beliefs, to try and challenge your own values. It's excellent, but at the end of the day, the result should be changing your actions to align your values with your actions, right? So please consider it or reconsider it, and don't take too much time. That's what I'm trying to say. Am I the only mod here? I kind of like to step away for a bit if somebody else is here. Ali, don't worry about it. Ali, step away. That's okay. Take your time. I'm here, Ali. Don't worry about it. I'm here. It's okay. Talk to us about Billboard Chris. I don't know who that is. Benji is also here.
Parkeerplekken, dan zit alles achter helemaal vol, maar als je helemaal naar voren rijdt... Ja, klopt. Ja, precies. Dat mensen absoluut denken dat kan wel goed.
Anyway, I respect you all and love you no matter the differences. Peace and love, says Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody, please also respect the animals. I appreciate you saying you respect people who no longer want to exploit animals, as you should. There's no reason to not respect people who say we no longer want to exploit animals. There's no reason for you to not respect people who want to fight for animal rights also, right? They are fighting for innocent sentient beings to stop being oppressed. So yeah, there's no reason for you to not respect them. Of course you respect us or other vegans, but we're here to get you to respect animals, not us. So please keep that in mind. Respect animals, not us. I'd rather you respect animals, not us. Same weather in Edinburgh, a beautiful day today, says Paul. No, says Paul Kratlut. I can't pronounce that. Animals aren't made in the image of God. We have dominion over animals. Please keep that in mind. Oh yeah, okay, so, we also have dominion over our children. Does that mean we can exploit them? I guess not. Do you think dominion means we have the right to do whatever we want to them? I think dominion means we need to take care of them if that's what it is that you believe in. I don't think, maybe according to your God, you were made in the image of your God. But as I've said several times here on this channel, my God is in the image of a chicken. So I think the fact that you're killing sentient beings that are in the image of my God, it's appalling to me. Natalie, I see you want to have conversations with me, Natalie. Hit me up on Instagram. My handle is Real Chip Guy. Let's debate on this topic. I see you have several opinions on it, and I'll gladly debate you on all of them, or even have a conversation with you if you're afraid to debate me. Muffin Man says you are stepping on ants. What do you have to say? No, I'm not. I'm not stepping on any ants. What do you mean? I'm literally just walking on the field. There's no ants here. I wish there were. Not so that I can step on them, but so that I can, I don't know, see some beings other than humans. Oh, Natalie, you're scared. I get it. Okay. Well, Natalie, when you get the courage and you actually want to do this with me, you want to have this conversation live with me, let me know. I'm here. I will gladly pull up a StreamYard link and we can debate, we can have conversations. And it goes for everybody. I don't mind. Natalie, I can definitely answer it. I just don't want to answer it like that. I just don't want to be the only one talking and you bringing up a ridiculous argument. Do I believe in abortions? What does that even mean if you're asking that? And why is it that you want to stay away from the topic that was at hand, right? I mean, you know what? I indulged in your topic about women and men and trans women and trans men, and I provided you with an opinion, with a logical statement, and now you want to engage in something different. Well, let me ask you, Natalie, since you want to engage in this, how many more animals should be exploited and slaughtered for you before you change, Natalie? Tell me, Natalie, how many more animals should be exploited and slaughtered for you before you change? You said you want to have a conversation here, so tell me, how many more animals should be exploited and slaughtered for you? Natalie said at least 1,000. Wow. Wow. Would you consider exploiting and slaughtering humans also? At least 1,000 until you change? Animals aren't made in the image of God, says AI. Well, as I told you, chickens are made in the image of my God. My God is in the shape of a chicken.
We want to save both.
Somebody says, I can tell that your God is a chicken, and it shows your intellect as well. Ooh, Tempest, ZZ, oh. Oh, you want to debate me, Tempest ZZ? Or are you too scared, just like Natalie? Because Natalie was pretty scared to debate me. Do you want to debate me, or are you also scared? I actually found a person on Instagram who I pushed all the way until he admitted that he's scared to debate me. So if you're scared to debate me, that's okay. We can. If not, come on, have some courage, right? Debate me. Chip, I think he's feeling murderous. Yeah. Oh, look, somebody says, meat has important stuff our body needs, like vitamin B12 and iron. It's just easier and more natural to get those from meat than trying to replace them with pills or special foods. Well, would you be surprised to find out that B12 is actually coming normally from a bacteria that we kept on the ground? We kind of fucked up the ground, as you probably, all of you know. And then what happens nowadays is that farmers actually give B12 supplements to the animals. So when you're getting B12, you're getting it from a supplement anyway. So why not just get the supplement directly yourself? No more animal exploitation. As for iron, you know, you can get iron from all plants. Come on, that would be a ridiculous claim to begin with. Source, trust me, bro. No, Tempest, I cannot provide you with the sources. You can see I'm on the street, holding a sign, trying to have conversations with people on the street. I assume you can use Google yourself, or somebody in the chat can provide sources for all of this. Okay, let's focus on getting some people. I feel like I've been sitting here and not talking to anybody but the chat, which I don't mind, but you know. I love tofu. Somebody says tofu is tasteless till seasoned, says Tone. Yeah, I find there is a specific taste to tofu, a very slight taste. I freaking love it. Love it. Skyjack Morgan says, I woke up covered in tofu. That sounds like a pretty good dream. Did you really? I want to hear that story. Favorite tofu dish, asks Neil Smith. I think what I like to do is take tofu, and I feel like the beautiful thing about tofu is that depending on how you slice it, which shape you slice it in, and then you just have to put some spices on it and put it in the oven, and you get different dishes depending on how you slice it, which is amazing to me. And I've recently learned that you can slice tofu kind of like a fry, like in that long square thing, and you put some spices, put it in the oven. Man, amazing. You guys want to try a social experiment? Just ask you some questions, that's it. My whole body covered in tofu. So somebody made a tofu around you, Sky? Is that what's happening? What's the signs say, bro? I'm doing a social experiment, come talk to me, but it's mirrored for you because YouTube wants to mirror it. I don't know why today it's a bit more difficult for people to stop. We always have days, huh? I guess today people don't want to really stop and have conversations. I've been here an hour or half, and we've only had 3 conversations. It's insane. You want to try it? Social experiment? I just ask you some questions, that's it. Okay? Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel? You can be off camera if you want.
Let's do off camera.
Are you off camera? Okay. What's your name?
Kate,
Kate. Where are you from?
America,
I'm Chip. Nice to meet you. Where from in America?
the West Coast,
West
Portland,
Coast.
Oregon.
Oh, nice. So, Kate, how do you feel about animals?
Generally pro.
Generally pro.
Yeah.
Do you think animals deserve moral consideration?
See, that's a big question. I think you'd have to look at the definition of moral consideration.
So I can explain it to you. So moral consideration literally means that if our actions impact their well-being or their life, then we should consider them.
Do you think AI deserves moral consideration?
No, but I think animals do.
Yeah. What if it develops consciousness?
Then AI will also then require moral consideration, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm probably about. Need to dig into it a little bit more to understand the exact implications of what it would mean to apply moral consideration across the board. If there's certain amounts of tiering depending on behaviors, because we have moral consideration, but we have justice and laws pending what we decide are societal implications for humans. It's a bit more complex, isn't it?
Okay, well,
right.
it's pretty simple. Like, given that if you had the option to not exploit an animal, would you ever choose to exploit an animal?
Hi.
Why are you running away from the argument? Jesus Christ. Today is one of those days. Come on, let's get some conversations. People are thinking more about AI than animals, says Sky. Yeah, that's insane, huh?
What's the experiment?
I just ask you some questions, that's it.
Okay.
Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Sure.
What's your name?
Mark.
Mark. Can you come a bit closer, Mark, so that you're in view? Where are you from?
The United States.
Where?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Nice to meet you. I'm Chip. I'm from Romania, but I live here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Mark, let me ask you, how do you feel about animals?
I like animals.
Okay, which animals do you like?
Dogs. I don't know, big animals like bears, deer, moose.
Okay. Let's take dogs, for example. Do you think dogs deserve moral consideration? And by moral consideration, I mean that if our actions involve their well-being, we should consider them?
To a degree.
To a degree?
Yeah.
What degree is that?
I mean, you shouldn't do things to like just hurt them.
Okay, so we shouldn't be hurting dogs.
Yeah.
How do you classify hurting a dog?
I mean, like kicking a dog or hitting a dog or not feeding a dog.
Would killing a dog be still classified as hurting them?
Not necessarily if you're being sympathetic, if they're suffering.
Okay, but what if they're not suffering?
If they're not suffering, to just kill a dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, then it would probably be not great.
That wouldn't be great.
There's pros and cons to everything.
That would go against your values, right? Let's put it this way. If I choose to sedate a dog so they don't feel pain and then I kill them, would that be okay according to your values?
Maybe. I think
Maybe.
Everything's up for debate, I guess.
Okay. Why is that? Why is there a maybe there?
Why are you sedating them?
Why?
Say it again.
Why are you sedating them?
To kill them.
Well, but like, why?
Why am I killing them? So I want to get my body in better shape, and I use dogs as punching bags. But
that's not right.
The first thing I do is I sedate them, kill them, and then I punch them. They don't feel anything.
That's a little messed up. But like if you're doing it for like population control, I mean.
So wait, is it messed up to do this to dogs for exercise?
I would say yes.
But I benefit from it.
Yeah, but buy a bag full of beans and then there's no like.
So I have a different option that I can choose.
Yeah, right.
Okay. What if I do this to a cow? Would it be okay?
Probably not.
Same reason, right?
Yeah.
Because I have an alternative.
Yeah, because it's something with a nervous system that feels impulses that causes pain.
And I have an alternative.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this to that cow.
Right.
So then, what if I do this to this cow, but instead of punching them, I eat them?
Yeah, but you also have like I mean, I understand where you're going with it.
Do I not have alternatives?
You do.
So then.
But I mean, the research is out there whether like complete lack of protein or plant-based is. I mean, there's a debate there.
No, the research is pretty on point that we can thrive on a plant-based diet.
Yeah, I mean, you can do fine. I mean, overall, yeah. I mean, you're never gonna win with that because humans are based on like consumption of meat.
Which humans are based on consumption? I personally am not, so I can thrive.
I don't know. I'm not gonna really. I don't know. I'm fine with like either way.
So given that we don't need to consume animal products, like for food, and given that we have alternatives, like we said, why exactly? How can you morally justify doing that to an animal?
Good question.
That's a good question.
And
I don't do it.
But you pay for it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So you do
you're
have some
guilty by
responsibility in that matter.
association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it starts with you, right? Do you think they would do it if people wouldn't pay for it?
Yeah. If you ended the supply chain. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So then,
But
If
it's
you-
inconvenient, so that's where you kind of like lose people, I guess.
So if you say that it's wrong to do so, do you think there's any reasons that would justify doing this to animals? Or that would make it right?
I mean, it's a debate. I don't know. I don't really want to debate it.
You don't want to debate it?
No, not really.
No, but how do you think the animals feel? The animals that are forced into slaughterhouses for you?
I mean, I don't know.
You don't know? If you were on the production line and you were about to have your throat cut, how would you feel?
Oh, probably not great.
Probably not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you were to find out that you
But
will be eaten in the
Anyway,
end?
this has been fun, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, why is it that you're running away? Animals don't have the freedom to run away from their choices. So how many more animals are going to be exploited for you? We have a lot of runners today, huh? A lot of runners. Felix says it was obvious that he was going to run away. It wasn't to me. You guys want to try a social experiment? At random, no, but yes, punch and yes, torn raw meat. Oh, somebody said they'll destroy my argument. Who? Complex. Complex, I'm not going to scroll up and search for your argument. You can either type it again and I might see it, or you know what you can do, Complex, is contact me. Drop a comment in this video or contact me on Instagram. My Instagram is RealChipGuy. I think you have a link in the description of the video. Contact me on any of these platforms and we can debate. Since you obviously can destroy all of my arguments, you should want to debate me live because you would humiliate me live, right? So please, come on, humiliate me live, please. Debate me. Oh, okay, so you also don't have the courage to debate me live. Interesting. Okay. It seems like none of you people have the courage to debate me live because you probably know that you have no arguments against it. That's okay. That's okay. Maybe at some point you'll get the argument and you realize it. Because I saw your argument. You were doing something about appealing to nature or something. Some ridiculous argument because if you do artificial, it's bad. Oh no, artificial is bad. Run away. I'm wearing artificial things. This is artificial. This is artificial. Everything we have around us is artificial, but somehow artificial is bad. What if you were to find out that you can thrive on a plant-based diet? Natural, artificial, doesn't really matter. If you find out that you can thrive on a plant-based diet, how can you morally justify exploiting and slaughtering innocent animals? You guys want to try a social experiment? Sky says I like. That's true, Sky. I like it when people call Chip aggressive. Like, you must be such a snowflake to say that. I really am not aggressive. You guys want to try a social experiment?
I love experiments.
Okay. Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Excuse me?
Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Okay, I don't know your channel, but why not?
I can give you a link afterwards. What's your name?
Erkan. Erkan.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chip.
Sorry?
Chip.
Chip.
Yeah, Erkan,
Okay.
I said, right? Where are you from?
Turkey.
I could have guessed from the name. I would have said.
No,
Nice.
no
Nice.
problem.
Is it not a Turkish name?
Yeah, it's a Turkish name actually.
Yeah. That's what I would have thought. So, how do you feel about animals, Erkan?
I love animals, all kinds of animals.
All kinds of animals.
Specifically birds.
Birds? You love birds?
I love grevies, water birds.
Oh, interesting. What is it that you like about birds? Why do you love them?
They fly, and I'm an aeronautical engineer, so.
If they couldn't fly, would you still like them? There's birds who cannot fly.
I love penguins too. He likes it more. He likes them more.
Okay. Do you think birds deserve moral consideration?
Yes.
As in, if we do something that could potentially harm them or affect their well-being, we should consider them?
Yes, we should consider them, but I am a killer of birds. It's a pretty sarcastic comment, but I'm working in an aeronautical sector, so we crash them into
But you don't do that
sometimes.
intentionally, right?
No, not intentionally. It's a problem for us as well as for them.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And also the wind turbines, I actually tried to work on them, but they are sometimes kills birds, you know.
Yeah, I see that. But that's accidentally. We need to improve on that. We need to get it better.
Mhm.
But what about intentionally harming birds? Would that be okay?
No. Do you saying it about KFC or something?
Let's see. Let's say that. Yeah. So for food, would intentionally harming birds for food be okay?
Not okay, but are we okay as a moral standpoint, being alive? So, you know, we kill something, let it be a plant, food, animal, anything. If we think about the consequence of being alive or transporting something to someone, we need to destroy something.
Sure.
Is it okay or not? I don't know. I am
But
not
wouldn't
a
you-
philosopher.
But wouldn't you argue that in that situation, because as you said, being alive inherently involves some form of harm that we make in the world?
Yes.
Shouldn't we try to minimize that as much as possible?
Yes, but I don't know. I don't know what to accept or not. If your question is this life sustainable? Probably not. But
Well, let me ask you this: would you accept it if I took a pigeon right now
no.
and killed them?
But
What if I eat them afterwards?
I can't say anything about it because you are using it is at a source, and if you are not overusing it, I can't say anything about it.
So do you think that from the perspective of the pigeon, it matters whether I kill one pigeon or 7 pigeons, or do you think that it matters that they were killed?
I think it matters that they will be killed. Okay, I think individual animals have emotions
Yeah.
like us, but
So then surely exploiting them for something we don't actually need, hence animal products, we don't need. We can thrive on plants and plant-based products. That choosing to kill and exploit innocent animals should be wrong then, right?
yes. The main question is, am I a good person or bad? I don't know.
I don't think you're a good person or a bad person. The question is consuming animal products a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think?
On a scale, it's not at the good side. If you think at the median side, it's like at this side.
So it's a little bit bad, but that's what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yes.
Yeah, so then if you consider it a little bit bad, regardless, I think it's bad all the way, but like if you consider it bad and you can choose to stop, why not stop?
Why not stop?
You can always make a different choice. You can always choose plants and plant-based products, right?
Mm-hmm. Because I like meat. The worst answer I could say is I like meat, but it's a cultural thing. It's a culinary thing.
But do you think any of these really justify what we do to them,
No.
right?
I think the main point is, am I a good person or not? And I can say, I don't know. Maybe bad.
I don't think we can justify whether somebody's a good person or not based on one action that they do. I think you would know that when you're consuming animal products, you're doing a bad thing, right? Whether you are a good person or not, right? I don't know how I can justify that. Maybe you are saving other thousands of animals or you're doing something extremely good for the planet, whatever, right? But I think that you are doing this one bad thing and you can always choose to stop doing this one bad thing,
Yes,
right?
okay, I know.
And I'm just like, I'm here to help you out with stopping that. But in order for me to help you out, you gotta help out yourself. You gotta want to change, right?
Yes, but it's a little bit more involved point in my life. I can't change many things in my life, so I don't know where to start.
If I give you the resources that will help you with that, tell you where to start and help you with the change itself, where you basically just have to follow instructions, do you see any other moral justification for you to continue supporting this horrible to us
Probably
animals?
not, but I will try. I must try it first to see it.
Yeah, of course. So then let me ask you this: if I provide you with the resources, you look at them, they are exactly what you need, and you say yes,
Yes, I will stop them.
you
Okay.
stop them.
There's no problem in that regard.
Okay. So do you know what being vegan means?
Yes.
Can you tell me? Can you walk me through it?
Eating without animal products, whether it be meat or milk, without exploiting animals, I could say.
Yeah. So but veganism is not a diet. It's about not exploiting animals.
Yes,
Food
I
is
know.
one part of it, right? As you said.
Mhm.
And,
And
but it's also
cosmetics is also
clothing,
the part.
cosmetic, yeah, all of it,
Part of
right?
it.
And I would argue that for everything else other than food, you would 100% agree and say exploiting animals for clothing, like to wear leather, is ridiculous,
Exactly.
right? But the reason why we find all of this ridiculous is for the same reason we should find it for food ridiculous, because we have options, right? So if we didn't have anything to wear, then maybe when we say we could exploit an animal to wear their skin, we could find some form of justification in our head. Although again, we could find other solutions. But in the absence of a need, with an abundance of choice, we should have a moral obligation to choose otherwise, right?
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What are they saying? Can I see them? Can you provide
I
me
think,
a link? Or
I think
something?
that, yeah, I'll give you a card. So this is, you have my YouTube channel over there. One thing you have here is called Challenge 22. They hook you up with a nutritionist. They send you recipes every day and help you go vegan for free. You just gotta subscribe to it. Does that sound like something you need?
Probably yes.
How many more animals should be exploited for you until you make a change?
Let me see. About 7 days. 7 days. How many?
Why does it have to be more than 0?
I don't know.
Because if you're
I'm
gonna
an
go to a-
engineer. I am calculating something, but it should be 0. I know. I already understanding that. But
Yeah. But you go to a restaurant right now, or you're in Amsterdam, you will have a plant-based options on the menu. Is there any reason for you not to choose that option?
I don't know. Besides the money, there's no.
There you go.
I think it's nothing to consider. I
Yeah.
guess.
And if you were in the shoes of those animals, what would you want the other person to do?
Excuse me.
If you were in the
sorry,
in the situation that those animals are in, where they're exploited and slaughtered for, so somebody else can get some form of benefit from it, how would you see it? Would you see it as take it a step-by-step approach, or would you see it as no, stop immediately? I don't want to go through that process.
Step by step.
Step by step. So you would gladly go into a slaughterhouse, and be the only person to go into a slaughterhouse in this whole world, so that somebody can stop, or would you rather they say stop and you don't go into a slaughterhouse?
I think it's option B.
Yeah, because you don't want to go. Like think a little bit from that perspective also, because you have the choices. Even if for you maybe it's a little bit difficult at times, you still have a choice. They don't have any choice in the matter. See what I mean?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, I hope you make the best choices. And if you want to learn exactly, like you have my YouTube channel, but if you want to learn exactly what is behind all of this shit, just watch one of these two. There, when you scan this code, they'll appear there. Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers. Have a good one. I'm trying to be a bit nicer to people, as you can see, because I really want people to change. Alex says, vegan or not, don't push your beliefs on others. Alex Bennett. So we shouldn't be pushing our beliefs onto others? Is that what you're saying? We shouldn't be forcing others for our choices? Is that what you're saying? Because if you're saying that, then how does that logically go with when you're consuming animal products? Because when you're consuming other animal products, you're essentially, your choice is forcing other animals into slaughterhouses. Isn't that you pushing your beliefs onto others? In fact, isn't that you pushing your beliefs onto others, not in a sense where you're like, come on, you need to change, but rather that you are forcing them to go into a fucking slaughterhouse where they get chopped up into pieces? So what is the alternative solution you want people to abide to? Well, it's pretty simple. For food, go plant-based. For clothing, wear anything but clothing that comes from exploiting animals. For entertainment, don't go to zoos. Don't choose to pay for animals to be exploited for your entertainment. For cosmetics, don't test on animals. Whatever. Like, we have so many choices nowadays. We don't... You know, if you have alternatives for everything. So if you are choosing, when you're making choices, be a little bit self-aware and realize that maybe there's an innocent victim behind those choices, and a really freaking because I don't want to use the word innocent, but rather vulnerable being, a vulnerable sentient being, one who feels, one who emotes, one who doesn't want to be exploited. So why would you ever want to push those beings into exploitation, slaughterhouses, sexually exploit them, bring them to life to do whatever you want to them so that you get money from it? That's kind of insane, isn't it? Somebody asked if I'm religious. No, I'm not religious. I don't believe in any God. I'm anti-theist, actually. Somebody says zoos are great. Zoos are not great, no. Zoos are great for you, maybe, because you're the one walking alongside, pointing your fingers at individuals being in cages and being enslaved for your entertainment. To you, it's all like, look at that individual in a cage. And it's fun to you, you know, to look at somebody who's in a cage and laugh because, you know, there's no danger to you. There's nothing that you get any harm from it. You just are entertained. But to the individuals who are in cages, to the innocent animals who are kept in a container much smaller than their natural life would be like, to them being used for your entertainment, to them being reproduced for your entertainment, it's kind of messed up. I don't think any of us should abide to that. That's kind of messed up. All these people talking religion never even read the Bible. False prophet, says Sky Jack Morgan. Exactly. Good point, Sky. The Bible has the most fucked up things ever. They literally have passages in the Old Testament where they say that slavery, that you should enslave people who are not from your land. They have passages in the Old Testament that say that I think if a woman is being unfaithful to you, then they should be raped by others or some shit. Like, it's insane. They have all sorts of weird things. True, but some animals would live longer in zoos, says Stoner Dan 80. Stoner Dan 80, let me ask you this. Would you like to live 90 years kept in a cage, or would you rather live 40 years with freedom?
All right. We're gonna talk.
You want to talk?
Yep. Come
Just
on.
ask you some questions.
Yeah, come on, come stand with me at least. Don't be a pussy. Don't make me embarrass you in front of everybody.
Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Of course.
What's your name?
Colin. Nice to meet you. Colin.
Colin. Can you come a little bit closer, Colin?
Yeah.
So love it. Where are you from?
America.
America. Where from?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Nice. Love it. Colin, should the powerful have the right to oppress the powerless?
Should they have the right?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on the situation, because sometimes order is needed, right? In current modern history, though, right?
But oppression means cruel or unjust treatment.
Yeah, and again, you've seen that many times when the oppressors are bad and the oppressors are also good, right? So throughout history,
Oppression to me is always bad because it's cruel and unjust. What you're talking about is just measures, but oppression means cruel or unjust.
yeah, and these are the links people will go for power specifically, right? Through power, throughout history, the presence of power is always going to be there. It's just about who has it, right? So it's not really a situation if this person is bad, because someone's going to fill that role no matter what.
Well, let me put it this way. You know who Superman is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so let's imagine Superman has power over everybody on this planet,
Yep.
theoretically, right? A hypothetical scenario where Superman would exist, because Superman obviously doesn't exist,
Right.
So Superman has power over all individuals. So what he does is every year he picks 100 people,
Mhm.
and he exploits and kills them.
Well, Superman's a terrible example for this because he's done this before. He has become a total dictator. He's killed people, superheroes, just for exactly what we're talking about in terms of needed oppression.
Would that be moral? Not for needed oppression, but just because he wants to
And
do
that's
it.
that's where it comes into play, right? That's where the question is it moral? Is it okay to happen? No, it's not really okay to happen. But if these things don't happen, you have revolts, you have famine, you have things that you have non-organized groups
you think
of
that,
people.
wait, if you think if Superman in this hypothetical scenario, if Superman wouldn't choose to exploit and kill 100 people, we would have revolts. No, he chooses 100 people randomly or however.
I'm just talking about the actual story that they had
sure.
for Superman.
Sure, but I'm
in
curious,
your
like
hypothetical,
in
right?
this hypothetical,
in
yeah.
your hypothetical,
even one person,
sacrificing sacrificing one person.
Yeah.
Again, canonically through human events, this
Just
is
so
what
that
we've
they
done.
get some form of pleasure.
Form of pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, what would that have to do with oppression?
Well,
I thought that we were going to stabilize a system due to the killings.
Well,
right?
oppression can also be from individual to individual. It is again, it means cruel or
Okay.
unjust treatment. It doesn't
Right.
have to be at the mass scale. It doesn't have to be a systemic oppression. So what I'm saying is that Superman wants to oppress an individual. By that, I mean
Okay.
he wants to exploit them,
Okay.
put them in his basement, let them work, and then kill them when they can no longer work.
For what end, though? I mean, because most oppression's done for an end. It's not
I
just
don't know.
for pleasure.
He just wants a suit to be sewed or something. It doesn't really matter.
Well,
Something.
again, it has to matter because that's what makes a bad guy, the motive, right? If you don't have a motive and you're going through, you're just a psycho. You're just a Joker.
Okay.
right?
Let me ask you this: what kind of motive would justify oppressing an individual like that?
World peace.
World peace.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if there is no such motive? What if the motive is strictly for the benefit of Superman?
Then he's just a bad guy, and that's
Then
not an
he's-
oppressor. That's just a psychopath.
And that is something that he should not be doing, right?
Right, but again, that doesn't make him an oppressor.
Okay,
That's,
okay.
that's one person that he's choosing to do that to. That could be a vindictive reason. That could be a personal reason. Like
Yeah. Let's imagine
say
that
that we
he
would
just
know,
perceives
right?
some benefit from it.
Mhm.
Okay, so if Superman shouldn't be doing this to any human being for his own benefit,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that we as human beings should be oppressing animals for our benefit?
Oppressing animals.
Yeah, we can still be cruel and unjust.
I mean, look at my size, bro. I mean, I'm an eater, right? Like I eat meat all the time, and I know where it comes from and how bad it is. Like especially in America where I live, the conditions for animal treatment, especially farm-raised animals who are meant to be slaughtered or milked or things of that nature, it's deplorable. It really is.
So would you call it as oppressive to do this to them?
Is it oppressive or is it just manipulation of a food source?
It's cruel and unjust, is it not?
We do
'Cause
worse
we
to
can
plants,
choose
though, correct?
otherwise.
We do worse to plants.
Well, plants are not
We,
sentient.
that's your opinion of plants.
No,
because
it's not. It's not. It's science. But
It is actually.
Let's
They
assume, let's assume
feel.
even if you believe that plants feel whatever they don't, but like let's assume that they feel. Even if you do think plants feel, it would still be morally preferable to not kill and exploit animals because those animals are fed considerably more plants. So in the end, by eating animals, you're eating more plants. So even
yeah,
if
and
you
if
think
we didn't eat animals, we would eat more plants too, though. So
no, we
just
would
cut
eat
that
less
part of the
plants.
plant.
That's the whole point.
If we
wouldn't,
didn't,
yeah. It
what
takes
are we
6
going to
times-
consume if we're not consuming the plants and the animals, though? We would just go to
No,
plants,
no,
correct?
But yeah, we just go to
So
plants.
we would consume more plants.
No,
that way.
we'd consume less plants.
So you're saying that a human being does not consume as much as a farm-raised cattle,
Yes.
as far as plants go?
We consume
Have
considerably
you
less.
been on
yeah.
a farm before?
First of all, I can tell you for a fact that here in the Netherlands, where
Yep.
where in America it's even worse, but here in the Netherlands,
Right.
where cows are fed 40% of their diet is soy, only 40%, not everything else.
And soy is
even
a
with that
super cheap alternative,
situation,
right?
even with that situation, if you calculate all the amount of soy that they're fed, you could easily get more calories and more protein from that soy alone than you would get from that cow.
I will agree with you on the basis of I don't think you're looking at it as price-wise.
But
The
either way,
soy
one is needed,
extremely-
one isn't, right?
Soy is extremely cheap. Soy is an abundant plant.
Yeah,
it's
but-
not like we're going out here getting a special type of grass to feed them.
There you go. But
And so,
but
I
either
mean-
way, one is needed, one isn't, right? We need to eat something. So shouldn't then we choose to eat that? If you believe plants are sentient, you would at least agree on the fact that plants aren't as sentient as animals are, right? Even if you do think that.
It's a different type of sentience.
It's a
correct.
different type of sentience. So we know that these animals are sentient. We know that they have a capability to feel pain, to emote, to think,
Correct.
to dream. So it should be wrong to exploit and slaughter them, right?
Again, you're looking at a controlled food source.
Well, why would they be a food source? Wouldn't we consider dogs a food source? Do you consider dogs a food source?
I do not, but because in my country they're not considered one.
So,
In other
but
countries
why
they
don't
are.
you consider
Monkeys
them a
are
food
considered
source?
a food source
But
in
why
some
don't
countries.
you consider them a food source?
Because I have a pet who's that, so I'm more inclined to not want to eat something that I'm taking care of.
Okay, do you have a pet that's a cat?
A cat? Yeah.
Okay, do
I've
you
had
have
cat before.
Okay, do you have I don't know, do you have a pet that's a koala?
No, I don't have a koala.
Would you eat koalas?
Yes.
You would eat koalas. You would eat any animal that's not that you didn't have an emotional connection with.
And I believe that is the human condition. The emotional connection is 100%.
Well, that's not. I would never. I
About.
respect all animals personally.
And again, that's who you are through
But you
your
don't
journey that
respect
you've come
animals.
through. It's not about respect.
It is.
It's about.
It is.
It's about
them.
sustaining.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Well, it is about
Humanity-
respecting them. You
what
can
you're
sustain
asking-
yourself by choosing plants and plant-based products.
Right.
But you choose to exploit and slaughter innocent
We are no
sentient
longer
beings.
hunter-gatherers, though. That's the problem. You understand that, right?
Doesn't really matter.
It does, because you still go to a supermarket for whatever you pick up.
Yeah.
You're still getting your food from a third-party source, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So even if it's meat or if it's plants, you're not getting it yourself. You're not a hunter-gatherer.
Why would that matter morally?
Because that is where it comes in at. That's exactly the play of
Why
force.
would that matter
If you
morally?
could only gather plants, you would only eat plants. If you could only gather meat, you would only eat meat.
Why would that matter morally?
Because you have a choice now.
But
Because you
why
have a
would that
choice.
matter morally?
Because before, right, what you're talking about morality, before we had
Oh, yeah, no,
supermarkets,
oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
before
you're right,
we
you're
had
right. Now we have a
supermarkets and all that
choice.
stuff,
Exactly.
we have a choice now, right?
No, exactly. You're exactly right. So now it's
exactly.
immoral to consume animal products. Maybe in the past it wasn't, as you said, because we didn't have choices.
These are the
but
staples
now
that we have set up.
choices.
These are the staples we have set
So
up
wait,
in our society.
So you
in
admit
our
that now we
social-
have choices.
Yeah,
and
correct.
Would you say that choosing to exploit an animal for something you don't need because we have choices, is that not immoral?
No, because you're still entitled to your choice.
Wait,
Like,
so
if-
am I entitled to my choice to kill and exploit dogs?
No.
What do you mean? Why
if
not?
you personally wanted to kill an animal,
Yeah.
right?
No,
for
I want to
food-
exploit dogs. I
for
want
food,
others
it's
to
not about
exploit
exploiting,
dogs
because
for me.
exploiting means you're going to kill it and then leave it somewhere.
No,
correct?
exploiting means we're going to be sexually exploiting them, using their body, and then when we can no longer use them, we kill them. It means unfair use. Yeah, and that's what we
Okay,
do to animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everybody in the world does to animals. And again, like I said, I don't agree with it, but this is how.
Well, how can you not agree with it if you pay for it?
Because this is what our society has set up. This
Well,
is the social norm.
But you
across
have
the
other
entire world.
choices. You don't have to pay for this.
But it doesn't matter if we have other choices, because
It
we
does,
do
it
have
does,
free
because
will,
in
and
our
our
society-
choices are our choices, no matter what.
Yeah,
it
but-
doesn't matter what the ramifications of our choices are, because
It
at the end of
does.
the day, we're one person. Our carbon footprint is not going to make a big enough difference down the line to
It's
matter
not
at
about
all.
carbon footprint.
That's all
it's
about.
about the
That's all it's
innocent
about.
animals. No, it's about the innocent animals. You
Okay.
know, if you
I
were
can
in
see
the
what you're
shoes of
saying.
an innocent animal, if you were like, imagine if you were born exactly 200 years ago,
Yeah.
exactly 200 years ago, when people were still fighting over slavery, which is another injustice that we do,
Mm-hmm.
people were seeing other people, the people who were enslaved, they were seeing them as literally animals. We can do whatever we want to them.
Correct.
They're different to us, right?
Right.
And we lived in a society where that was normalized. But you as
Right.
an individual could have chosen to be on the right side of history and said, no, I don't want to have a slave. I don't want to be part of this. And you could even choose to fight for the rights of slaves. And what I'm
But
sitting
again,
here
that's-
saying
but
that
see,
we're
that's
on
the
a side
thing.
where you can
Look,
choose to not exploit
Let
animals.
me interrupt you real quick. That's the thing. We are in a society that is capitalistic, that needs these things to continue, right?
Why does that matter? You can still choose to not exploit
You can choose
animals.
that things, but you're spending more money that way, correct?
No.
You're not spending more money, but
Nope.
So okay, so again, in America where I live, to go vegan is 3 times as much as it is to eat meat.
Nope. There's 3
is.
studies that shows that it's between 10 and 30%
And I'm telling you
cheaper.
because I tried it. So just
I don't think you
brief
tried to be
history of
vegan.
myself. I've literally just lost 70
What
pounds
are
in
the
past 2
cheapest?
months.
What are the cheapest things in the supermarket?
As far as what?
Food. The cheapest foods in the supermarket.
Rice.
Rice. Is that vegan? Yes.
Yeah, it has to be vegan. Quinoa.
Quinoa, pasta, beans, lentils,
correct.
chickpeas, vegetables. All of these are the
Right.
cheapest things in the supermarket.
Right. Because
They're vegan.
they're the least amount of bought things as well. It's not by popular demand. If they were by popular demand, it would be more. It would cost more. Correct. You're getting these things.
No.
You're pulling these things in from different areas. For one, especially like I said, my
But you
view
keep
is
mixing
based.
the carbon footprint. You keep mixing the environment issue with the social issue that I mentioned. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about is not the environment issue; it's a social issue. The fact that we exploit innocent sentient beings is a social issue. It's not an environmental issue.
Yeah.
Do you think we should be exploiting humans for the environment?
We do every day.
But do you think we should do that?
It's not. Again, my opinion doesn't matter to the social construct
I'm
of
just
the
curious
world.
about your opinion. Is
I don't think that it's okay to exploit anybody in any fashion, but I understand that these
So
things
then how
are
can you
some
morally
necessities.
But wait, if you say it's not okay to exploit
But these
anybody,
things are necessities in our
no,
society.
they're not. We don't.
They
You
are.
don't need to consume
Exploiting.
animal products.
I'll give you an example of exploiting people right now in Taiwan, right?
But you
the
don't need
iPhone
to
is being
pay for
produced by
this.
people who are underpaid, underdeveloped even, right? And those people are literally dying, killing themselves every day.
But listen,
And that is a product that is needed over the world, right?
Would you agree that there's systems that contain exploitation? I agree with that, right? As you said, there's unfair labor in products that we buy.
Correct.
But those systems need to improve. But systems that depend on exploitation, like animal agriculture can never exist without exploiting animals. Those systems need to be abolished.
Yeah, but we're in a capitalistic society where profit is the only thing.
Exactly.
That matters.
In a capitalistic society, how do you abolish a system? By not paying it to exist.
Yeah, of course.
So you could fight for this system that you say it's immoral by choosing to not pay for it anymore.
If I personally started today,
yeah,
right?
you would be saving up to 100 animals each year.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but those animals are still gonna die.
No,
matter
maybe
what.
in the first year, but not in the second.
No.
It's supply and demand. You mentioned it yourself,
Yeah,
right?
supply and demand. And
So
there's going to
if
be
you-
more supply always across the world for any animal product than there will for any type of plant.
So you
period.
believe that so this is an appeal to futility. You basically what you're saying is that there's no reason
No,
for
it's
me
not a
to
logical
choose.
fallacy, it's not an appeal
It
to
is
futility.
because
What it
what
is
you're
is to-
saying what you're saying is that there's no reason for you to change or to be on the right side of history because it will never change. It will always be this way.
Because again, our
an appeal to
societal
futility.
norms that we live in,
It's an appeal to
the
futility.
construct that we live in, right, will not change without the mass or total psychological reevaluation of everybody, right?
Maybe, but
So
but
what
if
you're
everybody would
saying
have
and
your
what you're
attitude,
doing-
could we
well,
ever
what
change
you're-
anything?
There's no basis for that though, because you don't know that. Even if everybody thought that way, what if they said, "Oh, well, this is what we want. This is what we're allowing, and we're not going to go what you want."
Well, some people just
And then they
do
say
that.
they put everything under the same type of category, so you have to buy it no matter what.
Do you think that during slavery times there weren't people who wanted to have slaves and acknowledged that it was immoral to do so? Of course there were. Of course, with every injustice there are people who acknowledge the immorality of it, but because they perceive some benefit from
Yes,
it,
but
they want to
slaves
continue
built
doing
my whole
it.
country as
yeah,
well.
and
correct?
it's immoral the
My
fact that
family
they did
was
it this
slaves,
way. And
right?
it's immoral the fact that they did that to them.
But they built the whole country.
There was
Again,
a benefit from it, but that
there
doesn't
was a
justify
huge
the
benefit.
exploitation that
There's a
those people
huge
went
benefit
through.
from it. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Throughout history, you're going to get things like this.
But how does that morally
Okay,
justify
I'll give
you
you the worst one.
continuing?
I'll give you the
Right
worst
now,
one.
it's not even-
I'll give you the worst
you're
one
not
right
even
now. We
benefiting
can talk
from
about
it.
Hitler, right?
But
And
you're not even-
tell me how much Hitler benefited the entire world through medical.
Awful. I don't think he
No,
benefited in any way.
the experiments that he did. See, you have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I don't.
The
I don't, but
experiments that he did, right?
the ends- do you think the ends-
set the precedents going forward for almost the entire
So do you
medical
think
field?
the ends justify the means?
And that's what life is. The ends will always justify the
They
means
won't.
as long as they
To
are
me,
good.
They won't. My values don't say that. Do your values
So,
say that?
Yeah, my values.
So you,
the
according to
ends
your
will
own
always
values,
justify the means.
it's okay
Yeah, of
if
course.
it's okay if somebody slaughters your girlfriend, because in the end, multiple people get benefit from it.
If she had to go for world peace to happen, sure.
No,
if I
not
have
world
to go
peace.
for world peace,
Five
it's-
people. 5 people get benefit from it.
For what kind of benefit?
I don't know. They eat
Do
her.
they become? Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about cannibalism.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Cannibalism is a whole different realm for me.
Why? What's the difference between killing an animal for optional food and killing a human for optional food?
Most cases, the animal's not for optional food.
Well, for you it is. For you in the situations that you are in, it is optional food. So for you,
But again,
cannibalism and carnism
you're
is the
speaking
same.
from a place where people have this money to afford everything.
But I don't
and
want
they
to speak
need
about
the
people. I want to speak
nutrients, like,
about you.
It's not.
You're in a position where you can choose to not exploit animals. How can you morally justify choosing to exploit animals? According to your own values, you say that it is wrong. How can you do something knowingly? You choose to do something that you know it's wrong. When
Because
you can
good and
choose
evil
otherwise.
both work in tandem in this world, and there's nothing that will ever.
So
be
what
able to
you're
do about
saying
that.
is that you intentionally do something bad, that's extremely bad for an innocent individual, because good and evil will always be good or bad. No, this is just like
It's subjective.
no,
It's completely subjective.
But you subjectively said that it is
Because
wrong what
this
we do. To them.
literally, what's happening to animals is your science at work, right? It's literally everything that they have based the past genealogy on to produce these things, to output this specifically for this, so we can survive. That's literally your science at work.
What do you mean, my science at work?
Like this
It's
is
not.
the world's science at work is mass producing these animals to have them as a food source.
It was,
So
but we no longer need it.
That's your opinion.
No.
There's still people starving all over the world who could use it.
Well, no, because if in those situations they could feed the animals, why is it that they can't feed themselves? But
Who said
either
they
way,
could feed the
either way, I don't want to speak. I acknowledge that there's situations in this world where people cannot go vegan, but you are not in that situation. So how can you more?
How do you know I'm not in that situation?
Because you just
How do you know-
admitted
how do
that
you
you
know-
have situations.
how do you not know that
You
I'm-
said you're from U.S. You have access to supermarkets.
But
you
what
just
is
said
my medical history?
You are here.
What can I
in
eat? What I
Nether-
can't eat? I have something called diverticulitis. I can't even stomach most leafy greens.
Okay,
it
so
rips
don't
my
eat leafy
intestines out.
greens.
I can't eat rice. I can't eat the quinoa I mentioned.
You can't eat rice.
No, I can't. I
Why
can't
is it
eat.
that
I
you
can't eat whole grain
rice?
pasta. I can't eat whole grain pasta. I can't
Why
eat
did-
full
why
rice.
that- why you
because
can't
of my
eat
stomach.
rice?
Look up what diverticulitis is.
And
right,
you're-
it's literally if things are this small can get into the holes and cause.
I don't know
perforations.
anything about diverticulitis.
That's what I'm saying. So
But
I'm
let's
not.
say-
I can't eat those things.
I'll ask you hypothetically, if you could find a way, if I could give you resources and they could help you go plant-based, would you see it as a moral obligation for you to go plant-based?
As a moral obligation, if I could go plant-based, would I see it as a moral obligation?
Yeah,
No,
you
not
could
really.
thrive.
No, I wouldn't see anything as a moral obligation.
So you would still think that you have the right to exploit and slaughter somebody without power, because you're the one with power, and you still think you would have the right to exploit somebody without power, even though you may not need it, right?
No, you keep trying to twist my words, bro.
No, that's what you're
Like,
saying. You're
it's
saying
not,
because
I'm not saying
you
that.
keep
I'm not
finding this
saying
solution to say that you need it. Then I say, okay, let's assume in a hypothetical scenario you do not need it.
that. I don't live in the hypothetical world, though. I'm living
But
in this world. You're
As for
asking
my
me about this
hypothetical
world.
scenario, in my hypothetical scenario, you do not need it. If you find out that you do not need it, do you see it as a moral obligation to stop exploiting animals?
Do I see it as a moral obligation for me personally?
Yeah.
I'm not ever exploiting them. I'm consuming what has already been
You're
exploited.
paying for exploitation. You are responsible for it.
I've already paid for it, right? They've
Yeah, you're
already
paying
done it.
for
I'm-
exploitation, you're
the end
responsible
result.
for it.
So yeah,
You
probably,
understand
yeah.
supply and demand, so you understand you're paying for exploitation. You're paying for animals to be exploited.
Same
so
thing for
you're
plants, though.
responsible for it.
Same
Why
thing
is
for
it that
plants.
you're dodging this?
I'm not dodging. It's the
You
same thing
are.
for plants. You have to still.
And even in that situation, you would be exploiting less plants. So again, you would be doing way better in all of these things that you're mentioning. You would still be doing way better by choosing to go plant-based. So how can you morally justify not going plant-based when you know that you can?
Because that doesn't make sense in this world. It doesn't. I personally, as
It doesn't
somebody,
make sense in this
again,
world?
you're talking about a hypothetical. I can't do a hypothetical. Like I can't eat these things.
You can't.
I can't.
You can't answer a hypothetical.
A hypothetical. This is what you've given me is hypotheticals, not nothing based
no,
on facts.
No, you know
or
the
actual
reason
things.
why I
It's
give you a
crazy.
hypothetical is because I can give you resources that would help you with that, and then you would have to actually do it, right? But if you even in the best situation where you can actually do it, you refuse to do it because you see it as, well, the world is like this. I'm just gonna continue paying for this shittiness that happens in the world because I want this shittiness to continue in the world. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever, this logic. But you say you want.
That's not what I'm saying.
But
I'm
that's
saying-
why. But that is
I'm
what you
saying
said. It's
that-
shitty what we do to animals.
Yeah, it is.
And you say
It
even
is.
if you
But I'm
could
not
do
saying
it,
that
you say
I
you
can do
should
anything
have the
about it.
option to not do it.
I would still not do it, right? Because that is my current
There
diet.
you
That's-
go. There you
yeah.
go. So you
why
see.
Would I,
So
why
you
would-
want to
why would
continue
I-
paying for this thing that you find immoral, regardless of if you can do it or not.
I
You want to
find
do
internet
it.
immoral and I still pay for it. I find a bunch of stuff immoral and still pay for it.
These are all just
Is that not true?
justifications. You know, you can find immoral things
I
for
feel
yourself.
like you're
but
trying
when
to
they're
focus
sentient
on
beings,
one thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I
Animals,
brought
the
up stuff
innocent
about
animals.
Taiwan.
Well,
It doesn't matter. Those are people, right? Not animals.
Well, no, but I'm here
It's
speaking on the behalf
crazy.
of animals. I'm here speaking
Worry
for the
about
rights of
people
animals.
first and change the people, then worry about
Well, you
animals.
can speak about animals all day long if you want, and
I
when
would
you make
change the
this
people.
choice, you can choose to not exploit animals. You can choose to
I would-
care
I would
about
choose
animals.
to-
You still
choose
make
to change
choices.
people first. You can't
So
start
wait,
with the animals.
what you're saying
Why
is
worry
that,
about the animals when the sickness is already in people's heads?
So wait. What you're saying is that, let's say I fight for. First of all, I also fight for human rights. First of all. Second, like let's say that I
Focus
don't
on
fight.
that, 'cause that's
no,
where
no,
you
no,
start
no.
to change
Wait,
that.
wait.
It-
First of all, no. All the individuals deserve their rights. None of them should be exploited for something we don't need. Okay. It's not just because they were born human or they were born a different species. For all of a sudden they deserve more moral consideration than the other. First of all. Second of all, I can fight for human rights while at the same time choose to not put animals into slaughterhouses. You can fight and care about humans while at the same time not putting animals into slaughterhouses. So how can
But
you
you're
morally
saying that- you're
justify
saying
putting
that you
animals into
wouldn't
slaughterhouses?
You're saying that humanity who's starving, you wouldn't give them meat to eat?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying
But
you
you're
have the
saying it's
option not
immoral.
to.
It's immoral, right?
No,
So would
I'm
you
saying
feed
it's
starving
immoral
humans
if
meat?
you have an option.
But would you feed starving humans meat?
If they would die otherwise, perhaps. But if I were on a, if I
Well,
were
I
on a
would die
decided,
otherwise if I didn't eat
No,
meat.
that would not true.
I
Again,
have to consume something.
So if you have to consume, you can consume plants. You don't have to consume meat or
Again,
animal
me
products.
specifically, it's not going to work.
Say it again.
Me specifically, that's not going to work because.
So if I provide you with the resources that it is going to work, you say that you don't want to try it.
Yeah, I know. I would try it. I definitely would try it.
You would try
I
it,
just
and
said,
you would
I
see
just
it as
said
an obligation.
past 2 months
and
I
you would
tried.
see it as an obligation to do so. So wait, if you tried
Obligation
it
for
for
what?
2 months, wait, if you tried it for 2 months, then you can.
Yeah, I just said I dropped 70 pounds
Yeah,
in 2
so
months.
it worked.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's the lack of actual protein in my diet.
It's the lack of actual
I'm using
protein in your diet.
ketosis. So I'm,
So actually, all plants have contain all essential amino acids in in various amounts.
no, all plants do not.
All. I'm actually a certified nutritionist, and they all do. Yes, they absolutely all do in various amounts. Contain all 9 essential amino acids that the
Not
human
enough to
body needs.
sustain yourself, though.
Well, depending on the plants. If you consume soy, they do have enough.
Okay, I guess so.
Soy is
that's not
actually
what I was
higher in
taught, but
protein
you
per
said you have a
calorie.
thing, so.
Yeah, soy is actually higher in calorie per
Yeah, it's
protein.
also
Higher in
terrible for
protein
you
per
too.
calorie.
It's also toxic for your body.
No, it's not.
It is. That's where you need to do some research.
What
at,
exactly do you
brother.
think soy does?
I'm
Do you
gonna-
think
I'm
there's
gonna-
any
I'm gonna
hormonal?
shake your hand. I'm
Do you
gonna
think
tell
there's
you.
any hormonal
It
implications?
don't
of-
matter. It don't matter.
Well,
If
what
you don't know
exactly
what
do you
soy does
think-
to the body,
No. I just want. I want to see what
It's
misinformation
okay.
you're trying
Come.
to split.
Come.
Because the reality is that soy is. There's been several debunkings that soy is actually very healthy for your body. Why exactly do you think? Are you talking about testosterone and all of these
Yeah,
stuff?
it destroys a lot of that. Right.
That's totally not true. There's
I'm
actually
a
been.
scientist. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I want you to have a good day.
No, that's
You
not
have-
true.
you have a
But
nice
that's
day.
not true. So why are you peddling misinformation only to support the exploitation of animal? Do you feel good about that?
What do you want to talk about?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just asking people some questions. Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
You know what? I am.
Can you come
I'm an
over here?
open book.
Love it. What's your name?
My name is Heather.
I'm Chip. Nice to meet you. Where are
Hi,
you from,
Chip.
Heather?
I'm actually from the United States.
Where
Originally
from?
New York and now California.
Love
San
it.
Francisco.
Okay, Heather, you said, right?
Yes.
Heather, how do you feel about animals?
I love animals.
You love animals.
I also eat animals.
You also eat animals. Can you
Yes.
love and eat animals at the same time?
Yes, I think I can.
Do you think I can love and eat somebody while at the same time cutting their throat for something I don't need?
I think sometimes when you have a necessity, if you think of the Donner Party,
But
you know,
we
they
don't
end
need
up
to
eating
consume
people that they
animal
love.
products.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm very much a protein-based person, so
You can get protein from plants and plant-based
Yeah.
products. So
I'm,
then we
I'm not
don't
going to
need it.
become vegan, but I'm happy to talk about it. But
What do you think being vegan means?
Chip. I'm going to go get on my
Wait,
boat.
what do you think being vegan means? Why is it that scares
but
you?
I'm not going to be vegan
Why?
because
It
I'm
literally just means
60
respecting animals.
Oh, but I do respect animals.
How can you respect them and cut their throat for something you don't need?
Okay, so I'm happy to talk to you.
Please
but you're
explain to me
being
this logic.
aggressive.
Please explain to me this
You're being
logic.
aggressive, and I'm on vacation,
sure,
so
I'm-
I'm going to let you go.
That's okay, but
In
please
the
explain to-
kindest, most thoughtful.
please-
I would have much been happier to talk about the idiot that is Donald Trump instead of talking
Fair
about
enough.
animals.
Fair enough.
But-
Why is Trump an idiot? Because he doesn't consider the rights of others?
Exactly.
How do you consider the rights of others? You're oppressing innocent animals. Do you think they don't deserve right to be free? You're doing exactly what Trump does to you, you're doing to animals. Some people. Sad, huh? I'm aggressive, everybody. You see that? I'm so aggressive. Aggressive for asking the questions that they are afraid. Aggressive. You can hear the aggression in my voice. Yeah. Christian says, thank you for what it is that you're doing. Thank you. And everybody, if you're enjoying these conversations, I don't even know what to call them, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let's get those numbers up, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's in your energy, says Maraki. Yeah, that's okay. You know, when it comes to such a horrific things, incredible violence, exploitation, and slaughter being done to innocent sentient beings, I would argue that we should not be judging the attitude of the person who's communicating the message, because of course, when the person knows that there's immense violence, suffering, exploitation, and abuse, then we should obviously understand that emotionally I may not always be, oh, okay, well, what it is that you want to do about it? Of course, I cannot always be like that, of course, right? I will be a little bit more active. I will be a little bit more intense because these innocent animals are exploited and slaughtered. And when you come with the ridiculous justifications for your actions to continue oppressing, to continue pushing animals into slaughterhouses day in, day out, just because you can, just because you perceive some benefit from it, or as this previous guy was saying, just because everybody does it and the system will never change, so you are appealing to some form of futility, that doesn't mean you should be doing it. It's like you need to change. Of course I'm gonna get a little bit intense because those are ridiculous arguments. Those individuals do not deserve to be in those situations. And you should not be paying for these individuals to be in those situations. It's as simple as that.
It says come talk to me.
Yeah, you okay? Are you okay being live for my YouTube channel?
Yeah, if I'm not on it, then.
If you're not on it, oh, you want to be off camera?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can be on it. Ja, dat wordt het toch al bij ingewikkeld. Nou, oké, laten we.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Jelle.
What about you?
My name is Julius.
Okay, Jelle and Julius. How do you guys feel about animals?
Yeah, they're nice creatures. Not all of them, but most of them.
I think they are cool.
You think they're cool?
Yes.
Do you think we should be exploiting animals?
No, I do not think that.
No, me too.
So exploiting means like using them, disregarding their well-being for our own benefit.
No.
Sometimes. Sometimes we, if we have to, then I think it's okay to do it. But we don't have to do it all of the time. I think that's unnecessary.
So if there is no need, it would be wrong to do so.
Yes, it would be because then you're killing an animal for nothing. If there's other ways to do it, we should do it that way.
Okay. So how do you guys feel about exploiting animals for clothing, for food, for entertainment?
Well, I think for clothing it's hard because fake leather is even worse for nature.
It's not.
No? Oh, the making is worse. That's true. The making is worse, but I think there should be a cheaper alternative. But if there's not, then it's okay to use it.
Wait, but do you need to wear leather or fake leather or any form of leather?
Well, for shoes it's useful most of the time.
But you don't need it.
We don't need it, but...
So then how doesn't that go against your initial statement where you said if it's not needed, then it's wrong?
No, because I don't think so. Because it's not needed, but it is sometimes if you have... leather is very strong and it makes shoes go... I don't know how to say it.
What is leather?
It's the skin of cows and
Would you wear the skin of a human?
No, but I think cows and horses are different than humans.
What is that difference?
They are less smart and they can do the stuff that we do.
So if I find a human being who is less smart, who's as smart as a cow, and can do pretty much anything that a cow can do, but not what a human being can do, as you said, according to your definition, would it be okay for me to kill them and use their skin to make shoes?
No, it wouldn't. But
so then that's not the difference that justifies
no,
it.
that isn't. No, if a human was as dumb as a cow, then it wouldn't even be. I think it wouldn't be classified as a human anymore.
There are intellectually challenged people who have the intelligence of a cow, the cognitive abilities of a cow.
Yeah, but do they have the? They don't. Their skin is not made of leather. So
Their
why
skin
would
is
we
made
use
of
it?
skin. Leather is just the product of
Yeah, but it's
processing the
different.
skin of cows.
I think human skin is not stable.
So what if it were even better, even more stable, human skin?
Well, maybe it isn't. I think it's weird to wear your own species skin. So cows are not gonna wear cow leather on purpose.
Wait, it's weird to wear your own species skin?
I don't know how to say, but it's weird. If I wore his skin, that would be weird.
Why?
If I wore your skin, because it is. You're not gonna kill.
Because I think
another
like
human.
humans have like human-like connections that we don't have with some animals, so it makes it easier to use that
Well,
skin. and
it's
stuff.
because you see them, because you see this human being, and you think that they have an experience of life just like you do, right? You think that they feel just like you feel. You think they see just like you see. You think they want to be loved just like you want to be loved. But all of the things that I spoken of just now are things that all the animals also want. They're things that they also have an experience of the world. They also want to be loved. They also feel. So I would say just because you cannot put yourself in their shoes, or they're so different the way they look that you cannot possibly empathize with them, but you can logically still reach the same conclusion and say, well, they are still beings that are logically aligned with everything that a human being has value of. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you, but like it's also a bit of the circle of life. I think that that yeah, I don't know how to explain.
Would you accept it as the circle of life if I go around killing dogs so that I can make shoes out of them?
Yeah, that's a fair point, but
Niech żyje wolna Polska.
Okay. I don't know what that was.
No, I understand your point, but I think like if from a overall human perspective, I think that humans are the animals or species that humans have like connections with. Yeah, they don't kill them. I don't know how to explain
But
it.
do you think that from the perspective of a dog, it matters that? Do you think a dog chose to be born a dog, or a cow chose to be born a cow?
No, but
But from their perspective, we say, "I'm gonna slash your throat, and I'm gonna pet you," right?
Okay.
Just because you were born differently.
Okay, yeah, but dogs also kill other animals. It's kind of in our nature to do so. Everyone does it. Everything
But,
does
so
it.
wait, if it's in our nature to do so, then
Yeah.
it's in our nature to kill humans also. Does that mean we should be killing humans?
Well, I don't think
Because it's in our nature.
Huh? I don't think. Sorry. Humans also kill other humans. We do it.
Is it moral to you to do so?
No, I don't think so.
So then why would it be moral to do the same to animals?
Because animals, I think they are just different. We can also eat them, and it's kind of like if animals.
So you can eat dogs, that's what you're saying?
You can.
Would you eat dogs?
Depends. If I'm really hungry, maybe. If there's
in the
no
same
food.
situation, you have the same plant-based
No.
alternatives, but would you choose to eat a dog?
No, because your dog is kind of a property.
Not your
I
dog,
think.
a different dog. A dog that was
Okay, but it's
specifically bred to
it's
life to
someone's-
be killed.
No, it's someone's property. You can join.
I feel like culturally people do eat dog, and culturally
that's the
people
whole
eat
point,
food
right?
that we don't we Western European or American or whatever you happen to be, like culturally don't consider to be.
Would you
edible.
find it moral?
I think moral is moral is a subjective thing.
Yeah. So according to your own values, would you find it moral?
I think ethically sourced and ethically killed, then yeah, meat can be moral.
So ethically sourced dogs would be moral to you.
Like I particularly wouldn't want to eat that, but like
wait, why not? It's moral
culturally
to you.
speaking, if I was in a culture that ate dog,
No,
or
no, in this
if I went to
culture, if you were
Ecuador,
here.
for example, and I ate guinea pig, I mean, if they served it to me and I knew it was ethically raised, then like if that's the issue you had, then that's the
So
issue
what
you have.
exactly is ethical raising to you?
So like for example, I eat mostly kosher meat. In Judaism,
So animals killed without anesthesia. Okay.
so interesting that you think chemicals are what make an animal ethical to eat or not.
No. I don't think there's any way to ethically kill an animal.
Kind of what you just said is that the most ethical way, at least in your mind, from what you
I
just
never said that. I just said that what you're saying is that an animal that kosher is better than normal because
Well, it is.
they don't anesthetize the animals, and
Well,
it
they
isn't.
can't feel pain.
You think that where does pain come from?
Your brain.
Okay, and where does it come from? If I pinch your skin, where does it travel through your to your brain?
Like from my skin, but there's a
And where does it go through?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of confused.
Spinal cord, exactly. See, he has it.
He's
Spinal
smarter than
cord,
me,
Yeah.
maybe.
So, kosher means you cut the throat of an animal, you cut the jugular. Does he not still feel pain?
No.
He's dead.
Because then you can't eat it.
Wait, does he not die? You think when you cut
Okay.
his throat, he's dead already?
So when you kill an animal kosherly, or in Islam halakha, halal, I think it's the phrase halal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the term for like what halal is, but I know kosher is the term. When you kill an animal kosherly, if the animal feels pain at all, if there's any physical indication, or then you check the meat afterwards when you're butchering the animal.
Have you ever seen that? Because they do feel pain.
I have seen it, and
Okay.
they have not felt pain.
Sure, I'm sure of that.
I know people that butcher animals for a living,
yeah, sure.
and they don't feel pain.
So this is halal. Do you think like this is painful? Is this nice to do to an animal when you don't need to?
I don't know if halal has the same pain requirement as kosher does.
Well, let me ask you this, because in any situation, you don't need to do any of this to an animal. Whether you anesthetize the animal and doesn't feel pain, regardless, you're still taking away their life for something you don't need. How does that morally justify it?
I actually do understand. I do kind of agree with that. The point being, I suppose that like the justification of life and death. However, I believe, largely speaking, that as long as the meat is sourced ethically, which is to say that the animal has as good a life as possible, not foie gras.
So if
or
this
Kobe
animal
beef.
this animal had a good life, do you think this is nice because they had a good life?
I think
or
it's
something you don't need.
Well, define don't need. We need
You
protein.
can thrive without it. You can find protein from all plants and plant-based products.
Biologically, we eat meat.
No, we
Biologically, you don't need to.
We don't need it, and I'm not against vegan. I think more people should be vegan, but I think.
But you're not gonna.
Huh?
But you're not
No,
gonna.
how do you say that? I eat almost no flesh.
I appreciate that, but like, imagine this: that one time you choose an animal product, and it's not just about meat. It's also dairy products, eggs, all of these products. When you choose that one product, of course, that one animal was already exploited and slaughtered for you.
Yes.
But another animal will take their place. They will be exploited. They will be slaughtered so that they can replace that product.
What about exploitation of plant matter, though? I mean,
Plants are not sentient, man.
yeah, they are. Sure, they are.
Why would plants be sentient?
They're plants have emotion.
Where do you think your sentience is coming from?
My brain, my consciousness.
Do plants
but
have brain?
That's a complex question with a complex answer.
No.
There
They don't.
are plants out there that feel.
No.
I'm not saying every plant
No,
does.
so listen,
but there are plants
you
that
can
do.
you can say that plants don't feel because when you go under like a doctor and they want to cut you, they give you a pill that numbs your central nervous system. So we know that pain comes from the central nervous system because you can argue with that, right? So plants do not have a central nervous system, so therefore they cannot possibly feel pain if they don't have it.
Neither do jellyfish. Can I eat jellyfish?
Either way. Let's just, I personally, I think you can eat anything that's not sentient. That's all. So if you have a, but if you like, the reason why it's wrong to eat or
Sorry to hop on
exploit,
your conversation.
the reason why it's wrong to eat or exploit sentient beings is because just like you, just like them, or just like me, they would feel the repercussions of that exploitation. They would feel it. The reason why it's wrong to punch him in the stomach is because I know he would feel my punch in his stomach. If I punch a tree, the tree will not feel. Whereas, you see what I mean? Like, that's the whole reason why it's wrong. And it's not just about the fact that they feel pain, it's about the fact that they have an experience of the world. You walk now through Amsterdam, you guys are walking through Amsterdam, enjoying it. You're gonna go tomorrow, probably think about it or not, doesn't matter. You're making memories out of it. All these animals are exactly the same. They're walking around, making choices, making memories, trying to feel love, trying to feel everything they feel. For us to take away that experience for something we don't need is kind of fucked up to just take it away, right?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I have plenty of friends that are vegans. I don't disagree with them.
Yeah, but then when you don't disagree with me, but you're paying against what I stand for. Because when you're buying animal products, you're paying for animals to be exploited and slaughtered. That's it. And I really don't care what you eat or what you wear. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm just here to tell you you have other options. Choose from those other options that don't exploit an innocent being. Because, you know, if you were in their shoes, I would fight for your rights, just like I fight for their rights. But we need more people to stop exploiting now.
And I think there are plenty of human exploitation that goes into planting. I mean, how does one protect against
fair enough
buying from farms that are controlled by mafias? For example, like I'm in Italy right now. In Italy, there's plenty of farms that are being controlled by mafiosos, by gang organizations. In Indonesia, there are plenty of farms that we buy our products from.
Fair enough,
that
but
come from like all sorts of fucked up places.
But
and I
you
think like, sorry, I did not mean to cut you off.
No, I was interrupting you there, and I'm sorry about that. But like, what I mean to say is that Yes, you are right. There is exploitation happening in a lot of our food systems. But one thing is you need to understand is number one, animal agriculture depends on plant agriculture. Most of the plants we grow for food, we grow to feed animals. Like 80% of the plants we grow for food, we grow just to feed the animals. So if there is, as you said, exploitation of humans for plants, there's definitely that also in animal agriculture, along with the exploitation of the animals and the humans for the animal agriculture. Number one. Number two, there's systems that contain exploitation, as you say, and those systems need to be improved. And then there's systems that depend on exploitation, systems that cannot exist without exploitation. Animal agriculture is a system that cannot exist without exploiting
I would
animals.
argue largely that all large-scale human-based agriculture can't exist without exploitation.
I think they can. We just can't.
Well, unless you're physically growing all the food you eat, which I'm going to assume you don't, but you might.
But you say you're just saying that it's incredibly complicated, and it is, but it can still exist without exploitation. Whereas animal agriculture, there is absolutely no way that it can exist without exploitation. Animal agriculture is exploitation. Inherently involves bringing an animal to life so that you can use them for whatever that you're using them, and when you can no longer use them, you kill them. That's animal agriculture in a nutshell.
If it helps more people than it hurts, would you argue that that would be at least on a benefit or no?
If it helps more people than it hurts
Like
to
a
exploit
Native
human
American-esque
Doesn't
use every
matter.
part of the bison.
It doesn't matter if you have choices. It doesn't matter. We should. The ends don't justify the means. We shouldn't be doing bad things to end up in a better place. We should constantly do the right thing.
When animals eat other animals, that's fine by you, I assume, right?
I mean, it's fine by me, just like it's fine by me if a child eats an animal, because a child doesn't know any better. But if a child learns about it, if a human being learns about it, individuals who understand the moral choices that they are making should not be making the wrong choice. It's as simple as that, right? If you understand that it's wrong to exploit animals and you have other options, then you have moral culpability when you're choosing the wrong option.
What if I raise my own cattle, and much like I grow my own plants?
Isn't that exactly the same situation? You're bringing to life a sentient being for the sole purpose of exploiting and
Yeah,
slaughtering
but the
them.
carrots you use slave labor. The carrots you eat use slave labor.
Say
So
it again?
the carrots people eat use slave labor. So like, where
Maybe
does
they
the
don't, maybe they do. Maybe
I
they
mean,
will, maybe they don't. I don't think the
they
carrots that are raised
pro-
here in the Netherlands use slave labor.
I can't speak for the Netherlands personally. I'm in Italy now. I know in Italy it's by fear tactics and exploitation. I know the pine oil we use in our clothing and in your hat and in your glasses and in your watch and everything. That's
But again,
Indonesian
systems that
slave labor.
systems that contain
Yeah, but I
exploitation,
think
we
it's-
reach the same point. What you're saying is that the world is shitty. There's systems that contain exploitation. Therefore, I will exploit other beings just because there's exploitation everywhere else.
We gotta go.
Okay.
further.
Can I give you a card before you go? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
we
okay.
got into this.
Yeah,
You
I'm
have my
sorry.
YouTube
I'm
channel
sorry.
here.
No, it's fine. It was fun.
I recommend you guys watch the most important speech you'll ever hear or Dominion. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's my
actually
YouTube
also
channel.
have to leave. I'm sorry.
have a nice day.
Thank you for having this conversation with me, guys.
Have a nice day.
Well, before you go, come on, finish this conversation with me.
Sure,
before you go.
I'll have a few more minutes. I gotta go meet some family.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So
that's my point.
So
What
I
I
would
got.
say, regardless of how you raise the animal or what it is that you do with them, would you, if you were in the situation that there's a dog or a human being, would you say that bringing them to life to exploit them, even if several other humans get benefit from it, would that be moral to you?
Well, then you get into like you pull the lever to kill one person, or
Yeah,
pull the lever to
exactly.
save.
So we
I
should
think-
never reach those situations, because when the options are exploiting an innocent sentient being or not exploiting an innocent sentient being, sure, there's level of exploitation outside of these two options, but those level of exploitation might be equal on both sides. So what you're doing is just adding more when you're choosing an animal product.
I don't think I'm adding more or less.
You are.
I
the
think
sentient being that you're exploiting definitely feels that way.
I think if they're, like I said before, like ethically sourced and ethically raised,
But
much
there's no
like
such thing as ethically sourced. How is it ethical to
the
put
same
the
way you
life?
can ethically grow a carrot, you can ethically grow a cow.
That's not true, because ethically a cow is a sentient being. In order to ethically grow a cow, you would have to you yourself manipulate the reproductive organs of an animal. That is not ethical in my book personally. That is not ethical to, you can find it on YouTube that there's tutorials on how they jerk off bulls so that they get their sperm, and then they inject they use the sperm and put it in a cow so that they can get more babies from
Let's
it.
say hypothetically, I just want to find where the hypothetical ends. If a cow is born naturally, raised naturally, slaughtered
Slaughtering is wrong if you don't
in
have the option.
most ethical way.
There's no ethical
if it
way to
dies,
slaughter.
If it dies naturally, can I eat it?
So what you're saying is, if you accidentally hit an animal with your
No,
car.
if a cow
Yeah.
has a heart attack and keels over, I can eat that.
Well, obviously in the situation, context will matter, right? Because if you're in today's world, you will still be objectifying that cow. But in a world where we don't objectify animals, there is no moral issue there, of course, right? But if a human being dies of a heart attack, as you say, and you want to eat them, it's the same principle, it's the same thing. Would you find any moral issues towards that?
I mean, there was a guy a whole bunch of years ago, whose name I forget for some reason, had his leg amputated. And as part of his leg amputation ceremony, he brought it home from the hospital, served it up to his friends, and they ate it.
There you go.
I think that's perfectly fine.
I have no problem. That's consensual also, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but bringing to life an animal just so that you can use them and kill them against their consent, against their will, how can that ever be moral?
I think there are ways to slaughter an animal that are, objectively speaking, about as painless as we can make it.
Would it be okay to painlessly kill a human being for something you don't need?
Well, that's like are you pro the death penalty? Like I'm not personally.
No,
but
that's not the death penalty. I'm not talking about the death penalty. I'm
But
not
I'm saying,
talking
like,
about
there-
guilty humans. I'm
there
talking
are-
about innocent humans.
There are people out there who are dying every day painlessly or painfully.
No, but killed
for little
painlessly.
to no
So I
reason.
sedate you and I take your life and then I eat you. Would that be okay to you? Would that be morally okay to you?
No, but I think like that's how we get organs.
So then why would
when you
why
organ
would
donate,
assu-
that's what
why-
happens.
Why would you? No, there's still consent in that. But like, why would you assume?
Not always.
There's always
Not from the
consent.
person, from the parents
There's
maybe, but not from the
100
person themselves.
Well, there's consent.
If
from,
your mom says, "Hey, you can kill my son,"
well,
would
it's-
you be okay with that?
No, there's consent from. So there's consent from either the person who consents for that individual or that individual himself for the organs. But either way, like. Again, these two, you have two options. You're trying to complicate it and make it seem as if there's any moral way. One option is you don't exploit and slaughter any individual, right? Behind that there might be some human exploitation. There might be some animals being killed during crop production, all of that stuff, right? And then you have an animal product which will, let's say, in the best case scenario, as you described, is just killed. Right? It's just raised and killed. But although in most situations there's horrific shit happening, but then let's just assume the idyllic situation and then they're killed. Even in those two situations, and then behind them there's the same, some human exploitation, animals being killed for their crop production because animals are fed crops also, right?
Yeah.
So basically you have two situations, one that doesn't exploit an animal and one that does kill them. One that doesn't kill and one that does kill them. Wouldn't you say even in that situation it's morally preferable to choose the one that doesn't kill an animal?
I think in a absolutely perfect world.
That's not an absolutely perfect world.
No, I think in an absolutely perfect world though, the answer would be yes. However, I believe like culturally, religiously, socially speaking, people need.
But you can't possibly say that any of these morally justify
I guess my
it.
question, like, what do you think? What do you think about pets?
I don't think pets are pet industry is just as awful as the animal agriculture industry. If you are going to rescue an animal and keep them in your house, of course it's a different thing, right? And if you treat them as a companion, it's a different thing. The fact that we have laws and it's a whole situation, it's a little bit more of a gray area because there you're actually looking out for their interest. But
So
animals that are exploited
if a
for
dog
food,
gets sick and you put them down,
but you do it out of mercy. Like you said, reason matters. If I accidentally hit somebody with my car versus I intentionally plow through them, there's a difference, isn't there?
I suppose so.
Intent matters. If an animal accidentally dies versus if I kill an animal, there's a difference. And that's the whole point. When you're paying for an animal product, you are paying for intentional exploitation and killing of an animal, when you can choose otherwise.
So you do believe there is a way to mercifully put an animal out of its misery, though?
If they are in pain and you are doing it out of mercy, yes, of course.
Much
Just
like
there is
I
for
believe there's a
humans,
way
yeah.
to mercifully.
But that's not mercy. You can believe that it's mercifully to kill an animal for food, but it's an innocent animal that did not want to die. So who are you
The
showing
dog
mercy?
doesn't want to die
But
either.
who did you want to show mercy towards? You're showing mercy towards the dog because the dog would suffer otherwise. How are you showing mercy towards an animal that you said is raised nicely, so they have a good life? How are you showing them mercy when you're
So
killing
it's the
them?
dog, but the dog doesn't want to die. The dog has a good life also.
But you said the dog is in a situation where they would feel pain otherwise.
I just said put down a dog.
No, you said mercy killing them. you wouldn't put down. I would say putting down a dog just because you want to put down a dog is just as immoral as doing it for animal agriculture, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I understand your point. I should make it so like I don't disagree with you.
You can disagree with me, but
culturally, I disagree with you specifically on just like the non-eating animals part. But like,
why?
I agree
What's
with
the
you.
difference between killing an animal to wear their skin and killing an animal to eat their flesh?
I don't disagree. Nothing I'm wearing is leather.
Yeah, but
I
this
would
is
hope.
the same thing, right? You have options in both situations.
I think in a perfect world, I agree with you. I think culturally speaking, I eat meat. I eat meat because of my religion, because of how I celebrate my religion.
But you don't have to. None of your culture or your religion mandates that you do that.
Yes,
you choose to. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it
There's
does.
several. I have heard of several vegans who are Jewish, I suppose.
I know several vegans that are Jewish.
Yeah. So then you don't have to. They're still Jewish
They're
and
still
they're still vegan.
they're skirting the law. There are laws in the Bible or in the Torah, I should say, that say, eat meat now, eat meat like this, and then also here's how you kill an animal the best way possible.
But there's also
For
the
example,
rule that it says
in-
thou shalt not kill, and and it doesn't not say thou shalt not kill humans. It says thou shalt not kill, and I agree that maybe all of these laws were made in a situation where humans had to consume animal products, because in the past maybe we did, right? We didn't have all the technology that we do now, but nowadays we don't. Nowadays we just do it because we want to. We do it because we justify it using religion or all sorts of tradition, but the reality is we don't need to do any of it, and we choose it because we want to. And we make individual choices. I'm sure nobody's forcing you to make the choices that you're making.
No, nobody's gun to my head telling me to eat a burger.
Exactly.
But-
So when you make these choices, you can always choose a different option, and you can respect your traditions and choose to make the same products but without animal products in them. Like you can, I don't know any Jewish food, I'm sorry, but like
No, you're fine.
whatever it is that you're making, you could be making a vegan version of it, right? Like,
And it would be sadly speaking, it'd be wrong.
and but let me ask you this: wouldn't you, because you believe in a compassionate God, would you say your compassionate God would rather you kill an innocent sentient being, one who feels pain and one who has emotions, for something you don't need, or that you do not know that? Wouldn't a compassionate God rather you show compassion yourself?
Well, my personally believed in compassionate God tells us how to do it without the animal feeling pain.
Well, it seems that way, right? But if you look at your Torah or your religious beliefs, right? But then when you take all the religious beliefs like at face value, you do realize that you are still picking and choosing some that you believe in and some that you don't, right? Like for the fact that it is a sin to masturbate, right? That's fucked up. I masturbate, for fuck. Why would I be sent to hell for doing something that I enjoy and that gives me actual health, right? I choose to use logic, and even if I don't believe in any God, but like even if I were to believe in a God, I would try to find it logical, and I would make it seem so that even if there is a God and they're sending us messages, the message could always be misinterpreted by another human being writing that book. And you could always say that if I just follow that book to the T, if something feels bad to me, then maybe it actually is bad. If it feels bad to put a knife to the throat of an innocent animal, maybe it actually is bad. Maybe we don't need to listen to whatever else somebody said in the past.
Yeah, listen, I've seen animals slaughtered. I've seen it done the right, quote unquote, the right way, whatever we choose to agree on what the right way is.
No, I think there's no right way.
But largely, I think that you are right in the fight you are doing. I believe in like the fight against any exploitation possible. I think there are slaughterhouses out there that are totally fucked up. I've seen, the great Paul McCartney commercials where they had they show the slaughterhouses. I think you're right. There are slaughterhouses that are totally fucked up, and that's the reason why slaughterhouse workers are more violent, beat their wives, can't sleep, kill themselves more often. I just think that there are also ways to do this in a way that is respectful both to the creature that existed and respectful to the culture that exists that needs that creature.
But wait, let me ask you this, because there's cultures in this world where they do female genital mutilation, where it's cultural to cut the clitoris off of women.
Yeah.
Would you find that moral?
No.
No, but you see.
But I believe.
But you see, so culture does not dictate morality.
I
We find
think
a loophole
human
to
exploitation is separate from animal exploitation, unlike you do.
I think exploitation. Well, I think, of course, exploitation for myself or my family is way worse than exploitation for anybody else I don't give a shit or care about, right? For my own values.
Yeah.
But I do acknowledge that the reason why exploitation is bad is because the individual would feel the consequences of that exploitation And that
Yeah.
goes also for animals. It aligns with the same logic as why it's bad to exploit humans. Is the same logic why it's bad to exploit animals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think they,
In fact,
yeah,
I would argue that it might be even worse to
the
exploit
people that
animals.
swing the pigs by the legs against the wall is, I would say, equally as bad as female genital mutilation. Thank God I don't do either.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
But when you pay, for example, because for you, what do you call it? Meat, dairy is kosher, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but behind dairy, they have to forcefully inseminate a cow. So that means they literally get there pregnant without their consent, because that's how we do it. When the babies are born, they separate them from their mothers so that they don't drink the milk. They kill them if they're male because they don't produce milk. And if female, they do the same thing as their mothers. And you know when they stop doing it, when they kill them?
I don't, but I assume it's probably a little younger than it should be.
When they cannot get them pregnant anymore. And that's a quarter of their lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So is this not fucked up?
Yeah, I've been to dairy farms. I've seen how dairy is produced. I don't disagree that there are probably better ways to do that. I don't eat a lot of dairy. I'm lactose intolerant, thank God.
But all of it is the
but-
same. If you look at it because I come from Romania and I've seen it in my grandma's backyard, and even if the best practices still end up doing the worst things, because when exploitation is the basis of your practice, you end up doing shitty things. No matter how well you try to do it, you end up doing some form of shitty things. And if you have the option to not choose it, I don't see why not. Like, I think like it's much more difficult to jump through these hoops where you kind of find that, oh, well, what if I do this? What if I find this? What if I do this? Rather than actually saying that, I just say no to all of it. I think, like, to me, I find it easier to be vegan than to be an environmentalist, which is insane. It's much easier to be vegan than an environmentalist.
I kind of understand that.
Yeah, because
I'm an environmentalist, so
yeah.
I
So
understand.
there's so many choices that you could be making, right? With the environmental, but veganism is such an easy choice. You just go to, you just choose something else off the shelf. You just choose something else off a restaurant. You just choose something else when you're buying clothes. It's pretty
Yeah.
easy, and then no animals are exploited for you. So I don't know. To me, it seems like a.
I think like my issue is also like the verification process. I don't know how you. I assume there are like things that are slapped on products that said this is vegan. But I
Yeah.
mean, can you?
You can't, but that's the whole point about veganism, because veganism implies you reject animal exploitation as much as possible and practicable. So that means,
But if
of course,
I-
you might make mistakes from time to time, but making a mistake is not the same thing as intentionally doing it.
But there could be some asshole out there who neither of us would support, who sells you a thing of eggs that says vegan eggs or whatever,
But
and
it-
lets
and
drop
that's the
some
whole
blood in
point.
there just to fuck with you.
And that's the whole point. If you find out that that's true, then you stop. But if you know that that's not the case, you do your best. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
Doing our best. If somewhere down the line you're supporting something you're not in line with, it's not in line with your values, you adjust. You adjust in that situation. But the whole point is that knowing that your values say otherwise, make the choices when your values say otherwise. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do my best on my side. You do your best on your side. I really appreciate
I
it.
hope you do your best, because I don't think that you are. Because if you're not vegan, you are not doing your best. I don't know.
I'm trying,
it can
I
seem
should
that way,
say.
but yeah. So I'll tell you real quick. Promise me, just watch this one. The most important speech you'll ever hear.
100%.
You'll really enjoy
Gladly.
it. You just gotta scan that QR code. That's
Yeah,
it.
you will watch it. Put me in my wallet.
You have my YouTube channel,
Yeah,
also
100%.
everything there. Okay.
Awesome.
What's your name?
Braden.
Braden. I'm Chip. Nice to meet
Chip,
you.
nice
Braden.
to meet you.
Hey, it was a nice conversation.
It was
Like.
nice. I think at the end of the day, you are out here doing the right thing.
I just want for the animals, yeah, but please consider them yourself and make changes yourself.
Yeah,
Because
for
otherwise
sure.
we will. Otherwise, what I do
if
means
I hadn't
nothing.
seen it myself, I would be closer to your side than my side.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was the same as you from your position, but like I wasn't born vegan, of course. But
Yeah.
at some point, once you make that connection and you realize how fucked up it is, it's
And
like it's
I
just
think
a
it's
matter of
easier
different-
growing up in like Romania or something. You can more likely to see an animal.
I have seen animals a lot.
From
yeah.
farm to table
Yeah,
than
yeah.
I grew up in the States.
Oh, okay.
Where you're
yeah.
just sort of fingers crossed hoping.
It's
what
very
you're buying
hidden.
is-
It's very hidden.
Yeah.
And in the States, I think 99% of the animal products are from factory farms. So
It's I happen to buy farms that I know are good. I try at least.
are good. Are they really good? That's what I'm saying. Think about it. Think if you were in
Yeah.
their shoes, because you can always choose something else.
Yeah,
okay?
100%.
I appreciate
It's a
you.
pleasure
man.
to meet you. Have a good
Have
one.
a good one. Okay, everybody. I think that's it. That's it, everybody. We're done. We talked about all of it. We're done. We're done. We're good. We have conversations. Your guests are not visible on screen. Yeah, I'm sorry. They were not. All of the people were not visible because the two kids did not want to be on screen, and the other person joined, and he did not want to be there. Sorry. But yeah, that was it. That was it. Thank you for being here. I hope you got something from it. We've been here for 3 hours. It's sad to see people justify the horrors that are in animal agriculture. But you know, I think we try to educate, we try to plant seeds, and we try to make everybody better. What more can we help, right? I hope you've enjoyed these conversations, and if you have, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm very much open for debates if you ever want to debate me. Also, if you're vegan and you have questions on how to do activism, please contact me. I can have conversations with you also about that. I really want to get more people to go activists, not just vegan. We need more people to stand up for animals. We need more people to do what I do, basically, but not necessarily on camera. Like, if you do it on camera, well, the better. So even if you're not vegan and you're having difficulties, you can contact me. I have nice conversations with people. I'm just interested in making the world a better place. So if you need some help, maybe I can provide you some help. If not, maybe I can point you to some sources that will provide you help. Yeah, we try to do the best that we can, you know, and that's everything we can. So hey Peg, nice to see you here. If you're not vegan, there's a 3-minute video in the description of this video. Watch that. You might enjoy it. You might learn something from it. If you are vegan and don't know how to do activism, I strongly recommend We the Free. I know I work for We the Free, but I recommend We the Free also because it's such an amazing organization, and the more I work with them, the more I realize how an amazing organization they are. And they provide you with free courses on how to do activism on the street, the best way, you know, the most accurate way. We have a lot of teams. We're growing. We're going to be having a lot more teams in the US this year, so there might be a team right next to you. So yeah, AV is also good. Save Movement is good. There's a lot of these. So please consider joining one of these groups and helping speed up the animal liberation. And if you're already doing all that, you're already amazing, and I appreciate you for being here. And don't forget to subscribe, because if you're not subscribed, that's not good. You're not good. I'm kidding, no. Of course, subscribe only if you feel like it. And yeah, I enjoy the, I don't know. I enjoy sitting on the street knowing that you guys are on the other side of it. So thank you so much for being there. Somebody said help children first. Testing. Help children while at the same time not exploit animals, because you can do both at the same time. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is make a different choice when you consume animal products. Choose to not consume something else. So that's it. That's it. That's all it is. That's all it takes. And there's nothing that justifies saying that humans deserve more empathy, more anything than animals. We're all animals. And we all deserve moral consideration. To each individual, their life matters just as much. To me, my life matters just as much as it does to you, just as much as it does to an animal. So, no, we all deserve equal moral consideration in that sense. So, thank you so much. And humans are animals, as Lewis says. So, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I'm going to close the chat. I'm going to stop the stream. And if you feel like you still want to continue the conversations, there will be some comments that people will drop, and continue the conversation there. Come back to this channel. We continue to have the conversations, and yeah, that's it. That's it. We're here. That's it. Thank you for being here, everybody. I love you all. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'll see you. Oh, somebody made a donation. Thank you so much, whoever did. I didn't see it who did. Thank you. I just saw it now. So thank you so much. Watch the Minion 3-minute video and go vegan. Stop it. Stop it with these explanations. It's easy to go vegan. You know, it's easy to not exploit animals. It's very easy. You just have to make a choice. I will choose not to exploit animals. Okay, that's it. It's easy. Choose that.